All right, this is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox.
And this is D. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on,
What's up,
man?
man? Not much. Almost
Yeah.
July, Independence Day.
So it's coming up, man. Very, very quick. But just like with everything, man, there's all kinds of fireworks going on right now. So you already know.
Yeah, that's a fact. That is a fact, Jack. So let's go. Let's hit this intro and get it going.
All right. We
All right,
ain't
all right, all right.
going nowhere. We ain't.
Now, I know I should be playing either. Actually, my intro probably should be something from Memphis or something from from DC. But it is what it is. It's the Mecca, baby. It is what it is, man. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
The stuff in the South too hardcore anyway. Honestly, it's not really. It's not that fun. A lot of fighting music.
hmm
Aggressive, aggressive, aggressive.
So what's the first clip you want to play or get into?
I don't know,
So
man.
much. There's a whole
I
lot.
know. Yeah, my bad, and just my bad. I was gonna do more shows last week, but my computer crashed, so it is what it is. I wanted to put that out there. But I don't know, man. It's so much. The last video I was trying to do was with was the interview with was not interview, but the Pete and Raising Kane, the commander of the Joint Chiefs. Um, did a debrief, I guess you would call it, to the media at least.
Yeah.
It, but that was Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So that's Sunday. And so much has happened between that and now. And really, as much as going on in the world, the New York thing has consumed the media the last. Um, I mean, they out here acting like uh, the brother is the mayor or the president for that matter. It's for the primary. They running so much opposition against him. It's fun to watch that because they're making it national. And they run it really international, to be honest with you. And they're making that. So I was trying to stay away from it last week before last,
Yeah.
because it was local. I was like, whatever. We have local races all the time, but they couldn't help themselves, and the right is freaking out. The left is, I think, quietly freaking out, and the progressives are very excited and happy, extremely happy, actually. I mean, and so that is fun. That is fun watching it, because I think Republicans they're either going to fund Cuomo to try to do some kind of, I don't understand their politics, but I guess some kind of third party thing or some other thing, and of course I think the mayor is going to probably get a ton of money from some billionaires. So and they're smearing him very good, by the way. Yeah. So of course the racial dynamics come into play. Identity politics come into play on the right,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. You
Yep.
know. So now Islamophobic is back in play. I hate Israel is back. I mean, it's just the whole thing. His name. It's like 2007 with Obama all over again. Look at his name. Look at this. Then all of a sudden, it's about the Muslims in England and London. London's a shithole now because they got an Islamic mayor. Blah blah blah. It's like, Lord have mercy. Well, when that machine come on, boy, it gets hilarious. So that's been going on, and then of course everything with Iran and more immigrant stuff. Like I was telling you offline, how America don't have the stomach. We don't have the stomach to deport 10 million people. So I believe it when I see it.
Right.
Um, Iran, talking about that, and it's all its secret. Now we have, of course, not now, but we have the secret, so-called secret locations that they may be still fucking around with some stuff. But of course, you know, you have your spectrum of that. You have there's one guy that I follow. He was just saying that they believe it's gonna be they knocked him out for 15 years, right? That's your one extreme, right? And then
Yeah.
everything else is from the left is 2 months. They didn't do anything. And then of course no one really knows. I mean, as far as the inspectors and stuff going out there to actually check it out. So that watching all that kind of go back and forth is pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Who has the intel? Whose intel is it? Is it Israel's intel? Is it our intel? Trying to make Trump look stupid and watching that kind of play itself out as well. And then the leak as well, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody leaked some stuff out, and they're attacking the leaker at this point, which is pretty cool that they got leakers. Versus how you think you got something under control, and you're like, right, never,
Right.
never, And so, but anyway, I mean, that's what I've been looking at. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other stuff too, of course, but it's so many things changing. I wouldn't even know where to start. And I don't want to attack your people up in New York, by the way. What's his name? Is it Bowman?
Bowman,
Bowman,
and
right?
there's Bowman and what's the other? They got like a podcast too. Got the
Yeah,
other
but
lady.
Bowman was on I don't know if it was Maddie's show. I think it was Maddie's show with the other cat. And I thought that was funny just for you, by the way. I may play that video.
Why you think it's funny for me?
just because it's funny. It's just funny watching people. And again, my perspective, my personal individual perspective. It's just funny watching people use the idea of race in America using black people and how we're used. It is when you just separate yourself from it and just kind of watch it play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? No emotions or no whatever, no picking no sides, just watching how it is being used, right? And it's fascinating to be totally. I mean, you've been talking about this for years though, but it's a twist. I wasn't really looking at it that way, years ago. It took some evolution to get to the point where I'm like, oh my God, the way it's being done is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just this commodity, and that anyone can pick it up and just use it. Of course, we don't have any control over it, unfortunately, because we physically feed into it. Obviously, we're being paid. We're part of groups and organizations, so we're in the mix. And unfortunately, it's all of us, right? It's all our history together, and so these individual people shouldn't be able to just use it and not really get any punishment for it. To be totally honest with you. Because when you're around a person who's not black or who's not white, or even if they're white but they're, I guess, conscious or whatever you want to call it, right? That
Right.
they can attach themselves to us to basically springboard their own push off of whatever's going on in their country that they came from or whatever's going on in the world. And how you hear a black person indict the West, the British Empire, America, etc. And so to watch people, and they've been doing this obviously forever now, right? But to really watch it real time, piggyback off of that, and then take everything that we have been saying for 70, 80, whoever knows for how long, over 100 years, and to apply it and use it. It may not bother you. I just think it's a bit scary.
No,
And the reason I make a point about that is that it's not going to be reciprocated for the most part, from my perspective. It's not.
well,
It's like, what are you really? So that's cool. You're using it, but what am I getting from you? What sacrifice? And the individual might may sacrifice themselves for me. I don't know, but just collectively speaking, in my opinion, and again, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who are pro-black's opinion too, is that the world don't fuck with us like that.
Yeah.
In a sense. And so it's like, I don't know. I mean, the people in your country, I mean, Arabs hate. I mean, I don't even want to go down the road, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm Jamal Bowman and an Arab dude is, I don't care if he's African, middle, I don't care where he's from, right? If he uses my race, we're gonna have to talk about Arabs and what that look like. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Because it's almost like, just like the Jews, you're trying to victimize yourself because This just happens to be a time in history that this particular empire just has power. But from our perspective, we don't have that history from your perspective. Your perspective is that y'all have empire. Y'all have had empires. You have ruling class. You have things. So how do you get to become a refugee or whatever, however the hell you got here, or however you got here, and then somehow figure out a way to attach us? That just you don't find it kind of like, I don't want to call it like deceptive, but unusual maybe. And I know that they're wrapped into politics. That's what makes it happen. Of course, obviously, that's the mechanism. But it's like, god damn, like, bruh, you know what Arabs have done? Like, pick an Arab of whatever groups you want to call them, the subgroups and the other names you want to call them, whatever any of that is, right? Not that you can get to all that stuff. I'm just saying, like,
What?
It's interesting. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like, y'all not from no. You're Muslims. Like, what are we talking about right now? 2 billion strong, global, empire, conquered for 2,000 years. Like, what the fuck? I mean, art, science, mathematics. I mean, what do we even? How can you all of a sudden attach yourself to some tribal people who were sold off and went through a process, and all of a sudden we can just give you all of that? Man, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck about you, a progressive, Democrat, or whatever, right? But anyway, I don't want to.
Well, I mean, what is it?
It's just unusual.
Well, what part of it that he said that you really, really just like fundamentally disagree with?
Oh shit! It ain't that. It's more of a casual. It's more conversational. But I'm gonna play it for you. Let me find it. Do whatever you gotta say. I'm gonna find it.
Okay.
I see it. It's honestly, it gave me, again. I'm reaching here. I'm reaching. Just so you know, I'm reaching. It just gave me a little insight of something about, because you know how the Nation of Islam or real pro-black people,
Yeah.
you can't talk to them if you're not a black person. That's the separation about them. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
You're not gonna be able to talk to them because it's not gonna be any space there. And so the sad part is that they take a lot of that and they shift it into politics. Even if it's the extreme left, it doesn't really matter. As they add it into politics, it creates space for people, and really there shouldn't be space there. I was listening to something this morning about a guy going into Bernie Sanders and stuff, and that bruh. It was Bernie, Joe Biden versus black people from a white passing Middle Easterner.
Oh,
and I was just listening to that stuff like, it ain't race, it's poverty, and it's this and that. And I'm looking, and I want to just go through the screen and just say, sure, I can buy it, but unfortunately, you're just like Bernie Sanders. I would love for that to be, but like you said, you can't make something that doesn't exist and just try to push through America, right? So you can try the poverty thing. The problem is the history of America doesn't let that play. It's a great, unless you are just a phenomenal, you had to become basically, he would have to be a phenomenal salesperson, which he's not. So it doesn't matter anyway, right? But that's the part is like, well, he's lacking something, because if he was what he is, just saying it isn't enough. You have to have the ability to sell it, because everybody's going to come at you and say it's ridiculous, because we want to be all Americans, hard stop, but that's not reality and nowhere in the world. Right? There's all subgroups and this and histories and all this stuff mushed together, and it would be great to just blanket say that and it's all good, but that's just not how things work. It's really I would argue a level of naivete, even though he's an 80-year-old man that's been saying this shit for 55 years at this point, maybe 60 years at this point. It's just a weird miss. So it makes you think that he's not truly what we think he is, honestly speaking. Because there's no way you can be that blind to that spot, and you just trapped. Like, you know how we make an excuse for him because he's so locked in. Everybody said, "Well, no, he's just so locked in, though. That's not bullshit."
Talking about Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. You know how someone can be so dedicated to something that instead of you analyzing him, that everybody around him would keep telling you, no, 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 that's not why. He's just so focused on it, and poverty is what poverty is, and you can't put all this other stuff in there, identity politics. You can't. He's just focused on it. That's why he don't talk about it. I said, nah, bro, nah, we're not doing that. You can't erase. My point is, you can't erase. You can't erase history. So it's like, sure, if you could make an argument about class, you won't. You're not the first person. Me and you both know we've been talking about this for 10 years now. And I mean, all the experts have been saying it forever. Yeah, we wish it was just class. It'll make it a much cleaner argument. But is it just class? You know, it's a great philosophy. It's a great what do you call it? Idea of philosophy. You know how like the Poor People's Campaign and all this stuff. You're saying it, but it's a reason why. It's a reason why it's not resonating, and you're making excuses about why it's not resonating. You're making excuses, but you're not actually observing. Like you can study and find out why it's not going to resonate because it's not logical. It's not. It doesn't make any sense. You would think it would be right. Oh yes, class. The poor people versus this is like, nah, because they don't. You know how it is, right? You start giving things out, or you're trying to make it about class, and that shit will devolve very quickly in this type of country because it's other dynamics at play, not just class. And to try to make it just class ignores everything else, which also drives people away. Because everybody wants to be seen, especially in a system where you're moving obviously left. You have to recognize people within the system, so it's counter to your whole process, honestly, in my opinion, because you have to recognize differences and stuff, and not just economics. And so it makes me just think it's suspicious, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's like you're I don't know. I don't want to say you're playing with me, but you're just like, come on, man. It's like, come on, Bernie, and the Bernie Bros and all that type of stuff. And then they're mad. Then they're mad because the media and the propaganda machines like beat him. But it's like, dummy, that's light. Welcome to politics and welcome to America. Like, what are you talking about? Even with the kid in New York, right? You have a lot of people who are trying to make excuses. I'm like, y'all do know this is politics, right? You do politics all the time. Yeah. So that's not even how you should be. You shouldn't be talking about it from, in my opinion, of course. Why are you talking about it from sort of a victim position, right? Well, when he runs, they're gonna talk about him being a Muslim, right? Like, so I mean, come on. He's prepared. He's prepared for it. If you watch I watched some of his interviews. He's clearly prepared for it. So your response shouldn't. The New York guy. Yeah.
The New York mayor candidate, right?
Yeah. He's prepared for it. You watch his interviews and stuff, but it's just funny that a lot of the talking heads around him are trying to spin it up into other things as if that is going to stop it from happening, instead of figuring out ways to just attack it. Is my whole point. But I get people are doing shows, so they're trying to make money off the shows, and keep their audiences hooked in. So I get it. I get what they're doing. It's just a funny way of approaching it. I would never approach it that way. If you're really trying to help push the candidate, I don't think it's the right way to. I don't think it's the most effective way to approach it. But it is a good way to make money, though, right? And keep and hold on to an audience. That episode I maybe watch later.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I'm just in my mouth. I'm just gonna look him up tomorrow. I'm gonna look. It's gonna come up because they don't have a lot of content out there anyway.
Yeah, I just thought that what they did, him and what's the other lady's name? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Cori Bush.
Cori Bush. Yeah.
You thought what?
Well, the defense for the Palestinian movement was interesting. The way that they viewed it. How deeply aligned they were as far as like trying to see if that actually can correlate between what is happening with us here in the States. very hard to do so, in my opinion.
You think so?
Yeah, it's a different thing.
Uh-huh.
You can push race into it, but it's like I said,
Oh, they're doing that.
it's
What is
difficult.
it? What is it? What is it? The global north versus the global south? Yeah, they on that.
Yeah.
They push that shit hard.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, from my purview, they pushing it. They open it up. I think they've cracked that shit open. I don't like you said now. Watch them. The way they're trying to position. It is fascinating. I will tell you that. By the way, like you said, I would argue it's really not race in a sense. It is, it's obviously running in the background on a global level, but it's really just politics, honestly, and
Right.
system. Because the thing is that if you're trying to counter the West, or if you're trying to change the West, what are you changing it to? What are you trying to change it to? What's you know what I'm saying? Now I got the answer to that question, but that is the question though.
And you got to be prepared for to provide an answer, a realistic answer, by the way.
Oh no, they answer it. It's just that no one listening to it.
Well,
That's what I find funny about it.
well, I said a realistic one that the people are gonna fall in line with. I think that
Uh, you don't got to
that's
worry about that.
that's the difficult part.
Yeah, I don't think when you say you're not talking about regular. When you say fall in line, you're not talking about regular people, everyday
No,
people. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because what I'm talking about is already taking place. It's happening real time while we're living through it as it's happening, and they're trying to move us into that direction. Obviously,
right.
even if you don't want it to happen, it's still happening. That's kind of the funny part about it. That is the funny part about it, bro.
Hmm.
That you can maybe slow some things down, but that's why they freaked out about the New York guy. Honestly, if you can get a guy, I think in the mix. I mean, it's just one little position at the end of the day, I think. But I mean, it does send a message around the world, I think, as well.
Hmm.
And you can use that maybe convince other people, and you want to snuff it out. You do want to, and I mean, Democrat and Republican, they both want to snuff it out.
Yeah, yeah,
They go that we cannot go into this direction. So it's going to
absolutely.
be a very funny fight. Mm-mm. Your girl Joy Reid's been on fire this last week too. By the way, she been cooking,
Hmm.
boy. I say you do a she does she is a I think she's much better. She should be more
Independent.
of a she should be more of a hitman
Yeah,
than than a host. She is
yeah, I agree.
that is a smart woman, man. My goodness, she'll do it. I just don't know what once I seen her, I only see her do interviews or do her podcast. But
Yeah,
man, I saw her on CNN. I was like,
yeah.
they need to be hiring your ass to go everywhere.
Oh, she gonna get hired by one of them. You know that for sure.
I don't
You don't think so?
I don't know. I don't know
I'm
because
trying to tell you.
she's not a Democrat. So I don't know. I don't
Trying
know
to
right now. The Democrats are I don't know, man. They getting pulled. They getting as always they're getting pulled in a couple of different directions, and I don't know. 'Cause you know what's so funny, right? The Republicans, like a Charlie Kirk and those guys, they're already saying this is not 2016. This is not No, no, I know y'all aren't that drunk that you don't think that the progressives have somehow or the Democrats have disappeared.
right.
Just enjoy being in charge for now. but It's not going to
You
last, obviously,
you have to
and they're going to
you
bring their
have to
policies
run it
back.
up.
Dummies, you got
Yeah,
to run it up. You got
exactly.
to run it up.
You gotta run it up. And not only do you have to run it up, you have to do it in a smart way to where it's not just temporary. You want to make
Yeah.
it a part of what we're doing now. And to get people to agree with it is really the main thing. I really do believe that. But
But you see, when you're in charge, you just got to run it up. Because you can if the country if you can convince this country to be that, then you just got to deal with it, bro.
yeah,
You got to just suck it up.
yeah.
But I know it's painful because you think what you're selling. You're so busy doing business and you're selling your bullshit so much uh, that it makes you look like you know what I mean, because you're overselling it.
Yep.
That is going to make you look weak once you're not in charge no more. And so just to watch people, it's going to be painful
Right.
uh, because Trump has had such a fun run and there's so much money being made off of him. Um, you know,
Boy, they loved it. You know they love that run, boy. They
it's
loved it.
great money. I mean, they're still running it,
It's a
but you know,
great
all good things come to an end, though.
it's a great run. Good eight to
Making
ten
billions of
year
dollars.
run.
And they keep saying, you know what's so funny too? Because I was watching Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker talk, and I just sit back and laugh like, yeah, man, good run, and still running. But you do know that America is not just what you're talking about. No matter what the numbers say, no matter what the polls say. But I know you know how when you're so in it.
Hmm.
When you start to feel like you're losing it, you know people are gonna start to panic. And I honestly think that this guy Mandami, I think that he's that first look at the freak out. That's why I thought it was entertaining to me
Yeah.
because I'm thinking to myself, you know, there's still millions of Americans, tens of millions of Americans who don't got nothing, struggling, and it doesn't matter what policies Trump put in place. It don't even matter if he sends checks out. It doesn't really matter. It just doesn't, you know. Politics are just so funny like that.
Hmm.
That you can do all kind of things, and think about this. Obama gave not I don't want to say gave, but he set up health insurance for 40 million people. No one cares. No, ain't no appreciation for that. No pat on the back. You would think the people who gave insurance would be loyal to the party, right? I just gave y'all insurance. Y'all ain't had no insurance. So think about all the lives that Obama has saved from the day they put that in, regardless of how much it costs and the rules and if it's socialist, if it's cap, it doesn't really matter, right? At the end
Hmm.
of the day, as an individual, he has saved millions of
Yeah.
lives.
People got health care that would
Heart
otherwise
stop.
wouldn't have got it. Yeah.
Don't matter about
Yeah.
you can't keep your doctor and all the politics, all the bullshit, political stuff. It doesn't really matter.
Yep.
At the end of the day, he got it done, and he's able to cover millions of people who didn't. Because I think it was maybe 60 million back then or whatever. I don't know what it was, but
Man, there were people just
it was
dying just
80
because
million.
they just didn't even have
Yeah,
chances
basic.
to get doctor's visits. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Just basic doctor visits, bruh.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
covering mammograms for free and screenings for cancer and colon cancer and stuff like that is
yeah.
immensely changed the game as far as that is concerned. People living longer. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
And you can get into of course, you can always get into the weeds about,
oh, cool.
you can get into
Oh,
the
yeah.
weeds about hospitals in rural areas closing, not enough money for this, these changes, you just get into a whole host of all of the sort of the, all the nuances that have major impacts when policies get put into place, uh, left or right, depending on what side you're on. Because you think the big beautiful bill is going to knock, what is it? They believe, the argument is going to knock off 11 million people off the Medicare rolls. It's also going to, which means that it snowballs into where people have to get medication, have to get surgery, have to get emergency done. It impacts the hospital, right?
Right.
You're also going to have hospital closures because you're not covering Medicare. And I think there's I think with Medicare, there's a special government thing that's in place to where, how a lot of places don't take Medicare because they don't pay enough. And so there's a way, something to have in place where I guess they can get more money. So it won't just be the Medicare cover. They also add more to it, so you will cover Medicare people at that particular, hospital or doctor's office. And just with the cost of everything and how, because one guy was talking about rural hospital has been closing down for 25 years though. Like, what are we talking about right now? But I get the sell. Obviously, I get the emotion that they're attaching to it, and it's real. It's real. It's real. Hospitals have been closing down, and people who live 3 or 4 hours away is not good. It is not good, bro.
Yeah, I'm
just still
wondering.
trying to find that video. Go ahead.
No, like did you want to kind of like go over some of the stuff that some of what the right was saying about the propaganda of how Iran is basically trying to say that the nuclear their nuclear sites was not destroyed. I mean, this has been interesting, bro. I just like to kind of like do an examination of some of this stuff,
Yeah, the Ayatollah came out and said after I'd be like Trump, Trump even says it after the fact. I was thinking to myself, well, he's right because he went into hiding, and I see they was going to kill him. Actually, from my perspective, they was going to kill him, and obviously he knew that, so he went into hiding. And then he's going to come out talking. And I don't want to reduce this stuff. Is horrific. As much as I love warfare, it is horrific. So I don't want to trivialize it too much. But it's like it's like fighters and stuff, right? You got 2 fighters, you get your ass whooped, and then you start talking. You start talking shit after you just get your.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different, of course, but it's just funny that you're in a fight, right? You're playing the game, and we can get into all the history of it, but like you're playing the game, and you get hit, and then you go hide because they was going to kill him. Honestly, especially once they took out a lot of the ground, the air protection, and he's vulnerable. They know where, and of course we know where. Well, they always know where he's at, obviously, but you know what I'm saying. Within the gamesmanship of it all, now we know where you are, and you don't have any. Israel controls the air, just for the most part controls the air, and then to watch him last week go talk to Russia, and I'm watching that live, and I'm just looking at Vladimir, just like, yeah, he's like, oh, okay. He said a few bullshit things,
right?
And of course, China's bitch ass is tucked away, quiet, sitting on their fucking hands, And I'm waiting for people to try to clean that up. By the way, they trying to find some talking heads that are anti-American, who are Americans, to try to figure out a way to. Like, but they're focused on other things. They got, get the fuck out of here. So that part of it has been interesting because, of course, they have to figure out what they're going to do with Iran at this point, right? And I don't know if the Ayatollah is going to sacrifice himself at this point. So I just think it's in flux. I'll be honest with you. They're up, and like you said, the sad part is, well, not from your perspective, from my perspective, is how the left and the right is dealing with it. It does make you. It just throws me off a little bit, to be honest with you. It's like we're Americans, we're imperialists. We are empire. We are democracy, the republic, however you want to frame it, right? And you live in our country. Either you're born here or you're here now, and this is what you signed up for. But I wonder why we're not told that in that way. It's just very, very weird. Depending on what family you're from, of course, you may be more pro out loud. But it's like, as an American, why am I not taking ownership? Because I feel like if we did it that way more, not saying things would change, but at least people can't just be floating around out here for the most part, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, we just did this, and this is who we are. And the reason I make a point about that is because I watch a lot of people on the left and on the right who take advantage of that. And so all of a sudden, you got people disconnecting themselves from the West. right? Now, as a Black American, I can do what we want. We can do whatever we want to do at the end of the day, right? Because we have a certain history that's positioned a certain way. Everybody else don't get that position, from my opinion, right? Meaning, if you're a refugee, if we overthrew your government and that's why you're here, whatever the fucking reasons are, right? Like, y'all have y'all own shit going on. Don't tie me to your shit, right? But anyway, because you know what I'm saying, when you think about like what the British did, and now all the refugees are coming to Britain for, and all, when you get into all that type of shit, it's like, well, shit, that's, you know, even when somebody on the right complain, like I said, somebody on the right complains about Muslims, like, Muslims didn't make themselves come to Europe. Why is Europe inviting them? The leaders, the people who run everything. Why that's what you should be focused on. Same with America, right? If you have a problem, it's like, what does they got to do with anything? Shit. You're open. You don't. Clearly there's some sort of rules in place to where if you overthrow a place or if a place collapses, as you know, we have deals in place to take people, right? Percentages and shit. Everybody around the world has to take a percentage. And of course, when you do that, certain political people are going to take advantage of that, right? Obviously.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, my point is just saying that I just find it funny, though, that I'm waiting to see if Russia, because they're in a weakened state, and of course China has been weak. I'm just wondering, will they figure out a way to try to help Iran some kind of way? And not just them, by the way, some of the smaller powers that's actually in the Middle East. But when you see when you see America pull out that big stick, right? Because you heard about your boy calling Trump daddy at NATO, right? Because see, what I think is lost because of the media and people reading a lot of bullshit books from a lot of dumbasses that are hustling people and using fear with other countries. Mostly for market stuff. Honestly, in my opinion, it's more strategy going on. But the so-called people who talk about it that's on a much lower level. They're not grasping that. They're just not getting it. They're lost. But anyway, just watching to see when the big boy shows up, right? What they doing, DC? Huh? What they doing?
You already know.
Are they out here saying this? America, you guys are too big to be picking on. We gonna right. Right. Yeah. It's so funny. It's so funny right now that Putin is scared to leave Russia to go to the BRICS event in Brazil, right? And so, he's also and supposedly Xi is kind of butthurt because Modi, who is it Modi, right, for India, is that Brazil had some big celebration for him, and now Xi is sensitive right now because of that, and so he's not going either. And of course they weren't. Putin's worried about getting arrested. So that's another conversation too. But anyway, and so the big people who actually are trying to push BRICS, they're not showing up. But that whole thing's a disaster anyway. But it's fun running the propaganda, forward, and these dumbasses just, bro. Anyway, people are just they need to help. They need to get their shit together. But anyway, so my point is that it's just funny that, so like I said, letting it play out to see what are the next plays that's going to happen, right? I'm not going to predict anything. Obviously, that's not what we do here, really, necessarily for something like this. We take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. 6 months to just sort of see the process, right? Because the international community is going to have to do certain things. They got to check certain things. You're gonna get so much propaganda coming out about what's the name of one of the big sites? What is it called? You remember the name of it? They have it's not a secret site anymore, I guess, because we actually know what it's called. But I cannot remember the name of that damn. It's a much bigger mountain, much harder to penetrate, and they've been working on. They've been working on some stuff already with the nuclear stuff. But when you start getting into some of the details about that, it's like, right? You talking about centrifuges and yellow cake, and you need this and you need that. You can move this stuff, but you still need this. And of course, they don't have no mechanism to actually shoot the missiles. And of course, obviously, they can get help from other countries that can provide some of that stuff as well. So that gets a little bit more into the weeds.
Yeah.
But they do, but they've always believed that they've had. That's what's so funny about it, though, is that our spy agencies already know that they have these things, but since the media controls the narrative, and I was waiting for them to say it, by the way, because they control the narrative. You know how I mean? You can predict. Now we can predict that, right? So you can
Mm-hmm.
say, well, okay, if we bomb a place, because no one has information, right? So either it has to be leaked out, or it's a press briefing, or intel, or you can just start interviewing ex people who are pretending to know something that they don't know, right?
Right.
And then you spin off of that. And so the moment we did it, I said, well, what's the propaganda going to be today? The propaganda is going to be they have secret sites. Well, obviously you're going to, and obviously, right? But the way it's turned, of course, is that, well, Trump. What about the secret? Oh, Trump. What, or media? What about? It's like, bro, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? You clearly know that they're a major country, right? So of course they're gonna have other sites and working on other things, and maybe you know what I'm saying. These are the major ones that got hit, but they also have some backups X, Y, and Z. And of course they know that, right? But then they'll say something like this: "Well, Trump is dumb." You know how they would say he gave him 2 weeks? And I said I knew they were gonna say that, right? If he bombs them within the 2 weeks, the first thing, one of the other things that's gonna get said is he's telegraphing. I said, bro, nobody knew that hit was coming, bro, until it happened. And you don't think we have, and I didn't even want to get into that part, but I'm just laughing like the government purposely, you can tell they don't say certain things that they can really, really say and push and say, well, we got X there. We have this watching that. We've been watching X, right? Like they can really, and I'm thinking to myself, the media knows that though, don't they? But they don't care to know it, right? They just going to spin it. And it's like, you don't think they're not tracking trucks and stuff leaving out if they were grabbing whatever they was grabbing and not monitoring that stuff prior to him making that statement?
Mm-hmm.
And that Israel isn't obviously all over the place
Crazy.
watching it as well. You think they just, and the thing is, but since they can't prove it, and you're not going to be challenged on it, that information can just float through the media space, right? And then you start finding other people who regurgitate it again on their little programs all over the place, right? And it's like, oh well, he telegraphed. They tried to get to that it didn't go though. They tried that, by the way. It was 3 or 4 big people was trying to push the whole. He telegraphed something, so they moved something, but you're speculating. None of what you just said is true, which is why it can't keep. You see what I'm saying? As the days go by, you notice that it's quiet. Have you noticed that? It's quiet
Mm-hmm.
on it because as the intel is coming out, they're like, oh yeah, I think they did. I think they did destroy most of the stuff. They don't have anything to latch on to make them seem incompetent. And he did such a great job putting the military in front of him. Are y'all calling the military incompetent? Are y'all calling the CIA incompetent? Who are you really calling it competent? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like Trump's out here gathering intel. It's like it's just retarded. It's retarded, bro. I had wrote down the name of that damn mountain, but I cannot find the name. It was a funny name too. I thought I wrote
So
it down
what is
somewhere.
your but I like to hear your point of view on the thoughts of how how he can actually get out of this kind of conflict, because that's been like what I've been really trying to pay attention to. It seems like
Out of
he
what
is trying
conflict?
to the Iran situation. Really, it's not really the Iran
We've been
situation
at war.
pretty much.
We've been at war with these places for what? I don't know, 60
Yeah.
years.
I'm saying
Yeah.
direct engagement is what I mean. The
Yeah.
direct engagement part.
I won't make myself predict it because we've been here and done it. We know how it's gonna. We don't have enough information. And I would tell you this. Uh, and Iran has, and me and you both know they have to play this a certain way if they want to. If the leadership want to stay in existence, right?
Yeah.
So as a lot of experts will say, they have to show strength, right? Uh, they don't want to be overthrown, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like I said, it's just so much propaganda coming from the West. It's hard to really filter through everything. But when I watch him speak, um, you know, he's talking big talk,
Mhm.
But he did make sure when he shot those bombs off that he pre-warned everybody.
Yeah.
So, what does that have some value to it? Maybe. Um, I just don't know if. And see, like, and my thing, what I was talking about earlier this week, I don't know if Israel. I don't think they're gonna let it go. They can't. I don't think they can let it go. I
Mhm.
think Israel has to topple Iran. I think they have no choice, and I think America has no choice. And it may not be Trump, maybe a different
Mhm.
president. But I've been waiting for Iran to get toppled for 25 years, 30 years. But I mean, they they still holding it together. Us dropping those bombs on a nuclear situation and America, not it's because honestly, be honest, it's not really about Trump. Same with Bush as well. It's not really about them. That's a
Right.
there's just proxies really. But they're not kings. I mean, even that, like you said, even that whole thing is funny when you think about it. By the way, how we discuss it, how it's talked about. But
Mhm.
I would just say America, and to keep it a little bit more, a little bit more broad. I just don't know we can afford to have them in charge. You know,
Huh. Yeah,
and for us,
I know.
it's a great strategy for us. Um, but you will get make America great. What do you call them? The America First people, and also the progressive left who do not want regime change, who don't believe America after toppling 70 different countries we done probably toppled at this point and
Yeah.
replace governments that the people who replace them with isn't good. The problem is, and as me and you, I think we probably both agree with it. The whole good and bad nonsense and the feelings and the you know what I'm saying you know how a lot of people talk. You know
Yeah. I
they
do.
talk. It's like watching. Hollywood has done us a disservice as children because people talk in this Bambi
The
baby bear
morality. You're talking about the morality
nonsense.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, that,
yeah,
that stuff
yeah,
is nonsense. You know what's so
yeah.
funny though that this lady was on social media giving out straight facts about being imperial and Israel moving into that direction, even if it's going to be ethno state, moving into direct. This is what we do, and to watch the reaction of other Americans and everyone's trying to sort out a way to deal with it, and she just said it straight up, and I agree with her from day one. I mean, it's obvious that it's colonization. So
Mhm.
I mean, and so the argument is, well, we're trying to be a better X. I said, no, you're lying to people. That's not how human beings function. But it is a great way to insert that into most people's minds. It's a great way to think and live your daily life, right? But they take
Yeah.
advantage of that because we don't get to enjoy being warmongers. Basically, we don't get to enjoy it, right?
Right.
You have to feel
Right.
bad. You have to be, blah, the whole, I'm affected by it. And I'm infected by it actually, like
Yeah.
strongly, because we grew up in America and what's been done to us as far as how we feel about things. But when you study the stuff even a little bit, I mean, it's obvious. That it's like, well, I mean, I mean, honestly, it's almost. I want to say it's almost a waste of time to hear
Huh.
someone opine about good and bad to keep it simple. And it's like, come
Right.
on. I mean, it's just matter of fact. This one dude online was with a big channel was like, well, yeah, America did this and the West did it 300 years ago. What? 300 years ago? What the fuck are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
But even a lot of people who are informed when they're just having the conversation, you know what I'm saying, right? Like they're uh um they're trying to not want to accept now by trying to put them on the British Empire, which I mean, come on. I mean, it's still the UK, right? But anyway, They still got kings and queens. The last time I checked, all over Europe, by the way, all over Western Europe for that matter, which I think is kind of funny. But anyway, it's very funny when you think. Isn't it so funny? I don't want to get sidetracked though, but isn't it so funny how all the European countries have kings and queens? Either they're diminished, either they're put over here to the side, but like. Just like when they were saying they didn't want to kill the when World War II they didn't want to kill the emperor because it was their god basically, right? Like you can't it's we're such a unique country, bro. The West, the Americas, because of how everything got set up, it's so unique because all these places still have kings and queens. It's just the funniest.
Yeah.
It's just the funniest thing, bro. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. And especially when the most powerful person, quote unquote, in the world is Trump, and he still has to go meet with the kings and queens, as if it's just the psychology of it all. I think is it's just why is the Western liberal countries, why are they not abolishing that shit? They complain about it, how much it costs. We got to maintain the palaces. They complain about it, but it's interesting that history, how important all that stuff is to maintain what you are, your identity. And just watching groups trying to either erase identity or replace identity, and how that impacts the psychology of people, and how politically you can exploit that. But anyway, not to get sidetracked. But I think that we have to we have to let it play out, because like I said, Israel has to do what it has to do. Of course, Israel is America, in my opinion. I don't care what the spin is out there. I mean, it's just, what I'm saying? It's almost like we want to protect the
it
right?
would be so much easier to defend it if they just went ahead and just admitted it as such,
Yeah. It'd make it easier for Americans if we could just live in the world, if we can just live in a thing where you can be America first, right? Yeah. But the thing is that who you are as a person cannot even allow it to exist, because you can't erase history. So you can pretend all day long, but it has to be. And America first is fun politically, right? And you have people who really believe in it, but it's just not right. It's just like, it's silly, because those same people, in my opinion, will not abolish the military, will not abolish police officers, and will not abolish our 16 known secret agents. Not secret, but our known intelligence agencies, and the other 20 that we don't know about, right? Like, you're not abolishing all this. It's fantasizing, basically. And you're not abolishing, and you're not going to abolish the federal government. You're not going to defund the federal government. You're not going, we can just keep on going, right? Like, you can live in that space. You can push. You can argue it all day long. You can have people who support it. You can get candidates into place. I watched a person who's America first, who's anti-war, figured out a way to still accept that Trump bombed the place, because they couldn't stop it. Because the disconnect between even politicians is politicians, so-called experts, academics, and common people on podcasts and YouTube channels who think that they're teachers or something, like all the people who pretend to be things and shit. What people don't understand is that there's another force at play in America, and you can't stop it. Now, I would caveat that with if the American people were actually engaged in politics, that's a different conversation, right? But again, that's fantasy talk, right? So you could obviously technically do a lot of things, but that's just not a reality. And when the president and the military decides to do what we have to do to protect national security, or to protect our allies, it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you say. And so Trump proved that point, that it's still politics, right? Is that those people really felt like they had control over Trump. He's not going to do it. But I can play you so many videos of people who are dedicated to the MAGA movement, right? Who just truly believe in Trump, right? And to watch them have to bend and bend and bend. I said, he dropped those fucking bombs. You don't know the repercussions from that. You technically should not be happy with him. But I watched a person say, I'm glad he did what he had to do, but then he pulled back. So the pullback, there's no pulling back. That's just a perceptional thing. That's
once it's done.
Yeah, there's no pullback. What's done is done. Things are coming. There are things that are happening. We've already arrested 11. Well, supposedly, we've already arrested 11 sleeper cells. Supposedly, you know what I mean. It's convenient to say it. I don't. I hate to. Everything I'm saying is gonna be propaganda, obviously, right? But some things I had to definitely be like, that's convenient, right? I mean, I believe them. They said it. They arrested 11 sleeper cells, right? They put it out there. Maybe they did, right? Maybe Joe Biden let in 1,000 Iranian sleeper cells. I'm not saying it's not true. You know what I'm saying? I'm just reporting it, But it is funny to me because isn't it convenient though? We do the bombing, you get all the political rhetoric, all the political rhetoric from the left and right, for 2 weeks, for a week or whatever, and then conveniently the next political push is what. You let these people in there, we got, it solidifies the immigration argument, right? Because it's like you don't know who's here, so I can say anything. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Now, if I believe it's from a Trump perspective, and again, he don't have but so much control. I believe if you caught 11 sleeper cells, Trump would have made you give us pictures of those. That would be in the media space. Now, I know there's rules and things in place, and there's a lot of different things happening, with black sites and CIA and secret. I know a lot of things are happening. They're making plays and making moves, and you're doing different things. Maybe turn them to our side to get more intel, right? So I know there's some levels to what I just said, of course, obviously, but you know what I'm saying, right? When you say it as an American, and you don't give me no proof. I have to be like, oh, okay, I'll go with it. We can, like with Colin Powell had the little vial. He said, "We got this yellow cake, from was it Nigeria? Where did he get it from in Africa?" And the African Nigerians, they're supplying him with yellow. And I'm just thinking, like, I mean, guess what, DC? That's what I mean about the ego check.
Oh man,
is that when you look at us going into Iraq, I watched it, I studied it, I was all in the mix. I watched it bend people. It bent people of power. It bent them to lock in and do what we had to do. And then after the fact, you get all the bullshit, the morality, and you just run with it. You just go crazy with it. But I said, you guys can pretend you're not in America all you want to. Far leftists, super leftists, socialists, anarchists, communists, whatever, whoever you think you are, whatever, right? You live here. You are a part of this. You can scream and yell all you want to, right?
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck out there. Good luck out there. The only way you really have true, you can create something with Americans, and we've seen it with the draft and doing Vietnam, is that you have to make us all feel it. For me and you to really see where Americans are, because I'm gonna tell you something. When the pandemic happened, most Americans fell in line. I was very disappointed. But shout out to some of the states and some of the places and some of the people who stuck to their guns about the federal government not, and even the state government for that matter, not taking too much power, basically, right? But we wrote during 9/11, right? I remember the interviews to this day. It would never leave my mind when people said, "I'm willing to give up my freedom." I was like, "Good God Almighty!" But it just shows you how, all over the world, historically speaking, where governments can obtain more power, especially when a lot of the country, like America as a good example of it, you can have all your freedoms you want, but you take it for granted in a sense. And, a lot of things are being done for us in a sense. And so you don't know that sacrifice is a part of holding on to your individual power. You will lose things. It won't be as comfortable because somebody else is doing it for you. When you let someone, and it applies to everything in life, from the government all the way down to your everyday life, right? If a person is doing everything for you, are reliant on them, they can do things, they can control things, you forget how to do things, right? You don't even know how to do. I don't even know how to take care of myself no more. You know how like the preppers go kind of crazy. You can't hunt and fish no more. It's like, shut the fuck up. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like people use those things and it can show you how, as you rely on any system as a human being, as an individual, because it's not always going to be around. Anything can happen, cataclysms, nuclear war, or whatever, right? Just collapse in general over time or whatever. And, it shows you your vulnerability. And once you're vulnerable, I would argue, DC, that you'll pretty much do whatever I ask you to do, right?
Yeah.
And 9/11, and 9/11 showed me that. The pandemic showed me that. The housing crisis showed me that, and on and on and on and on. So people do a lot of talking. I mean, big boy talking on the internet, and I'm just like, you are not in charge of nothing. And I almost want to tell people, why don't you just get on board? Let's just all just get on board. You know, let's get on the American train and let this rock and roll, right? It'd be much easier.
It'd be much peaceful.
No, you need opposition. That's all. It's just it's just funny to me sometimes when especially me and you being in the DC area, knowing a lot of federal people, it's just funny watching the machine work. But then outsiders, especially even in our area, they just talk in a way that I'm just thinking like you are. I call these people they're the train men now to me. They're the train men. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah,
that's what they are. To me. That's what they are to me. So it's just like have fun in the train station, dumbasses. And it's scary because they don't even know it, and the ego is so powerful, and it's being reinforced. And so there is what I just said. Nothing, right? It's just not going to happen. It's unfortunate, though. Such a waste. Such a waste. That could be used to deliver much better information to people. Unfortunately.
Facts.
But I get it though, like you said, people want to feel a certain way, and it's just I get it. It's just unfortunate, to be honest with you. Unfucking fortunate. But my point is that when you see Trump do what he did, does it humble you? Do you understand? Are you understanding your place in the world? Even the people who did not want it to happen could not stop it.
Right. That's a difficult thing. That's the difficult thing to realize, man.
If Russia says, or any country says, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, all your philosophies don't mean shit. I'm just saying, like it's almost like you're able to play, but you're not really. The reason I would say it's not really an honest thing, and I get people have to live their lives, obviously, right? But it's unfortunate to say the least. You know what triggered me, by the way? I was up trying to get this computer working last night, and I ended up watching. Is that Star Wars? This is a part of Star Wars family, right? What's that movie that came out? Is it called The One? No, it's not The One. Oh man, you know what I'm talking about? The new movie, not new. It came out maybe some months ago. It's like Star Wars, but it's not a. I don't think it. I think it is it a part of Star Wars though. It's on Netflix. Not The Mandalorian, right? It's the. It's not. I don't know if is it an offshoot of Star Wars. Am I tripping right now? Because all the Star Wars stuff says Star Wars, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. Not everything, though, right? Or is it everything?
Yeah, most of it's going to say that it's some kind of affiliate with Star Wars. Yeah. Most of the Lucasfilm, it'll be like, yeah.
But I was watching that, right? And I was thinking about all our conversations because I was watching it, and you know how like and some of the movies they'll show like they'll show like Columbus ship showing up to the native people like at it was Apocalypto, I think. Where they see you saw the ship.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so anyway, the lady. The only difference was is that even though the person pre-warned them, it didn't matter because of what they are. You understand what I'm saying? Like, well, people. I almost think that people because of it. Obviously, we're living a life in America. It's just hard. Even for myself, is that people, groups of human beings are just wired the way they're wired. You can't, outside of force, for the most part, you cannot make them like you. But it's hard for our brains to understand that. It's just hard to process. They're not like you. They're so different. They're basically other species, basically, in a sense. That's how I almost look at it. Really, it's a better way to look at it. It's every group that developed over time. It's really their own species. They see the world. They see everything differently, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the movie was they were farmers, and her ship crashed or whatever, and the Rebel Moon. Isn't that a part of that? Is that part of Star Wars?
No, Rebel Moon is not part of Star Wars. No.
It doesn't say it is, but I was just thinking the way it looked.
Yeah, it's a whole different. Yeah, it's his own thing.
Yeah, but I had to watch that. And I was watching. I just kind of laughed because when the ship showed up, right, and the farmers, the farmers were she told them, this ain't it. It's over.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you mean? She said, it's already over.
Mm.
It's already over. Same with when the Zionists got together with Europe and they got all pushed out and all over the world and pushed into Europe into Palestine, right? That was the end of Palestine. It's done. This is the process stuff, right?
Yeah, such an ugly process.
And no different that you didn't stop the Vikings from taking Europe or the Francos taking England, right? Or the Anglos taking England. You know what I'm saying? Like we can pick any place, really, right? The Hans coming in there and taking over China and combining it together, or Genghis, or just pick anybody, right? We can go all over the world, all different groups of people, where other human species come in, and that species consumes the other species. And I think it's very painful because again, in America, we're just so washed into fantasy about how things supposed to be. It's scary, DC, including with the Bible. Adding the Bible. The Bible is a big, extremely problematic.
Well, it's part of the morality.
That mindset, it's not good, bro.
It's part of the morality.
It blinds you from human behavior. It would be fine if it was accurate, but you're trying to get human beings to a certain level. Totally understand it, right? But we know that, man. That ain't reality. That book hasn't stopped shit from happening.
Yeah, that's true.
But it has caused confusion because it does. Well, let me not say it that way. It at least have, in I would say the Bible and other philosophies and stuff like that. It has at least gave some people conflict. Is that the right word to use?
Yeah.
Right. Or I don't even want to say really conviction. I guess conviction, but like it's giving at least instead of us being just not us, but certain groups of people around the world just being raw savages, right? Just straight animalistic, and even maybe call it an animal, maybe more of a virus-like behavior. It puts some conflict in it. You need to feel something, and that feeling is gonna help over time. You kind of ease off, but you still have to accomplish your goal. And we've seen that, right? And because, like you said, no matter how more you may be or whatever, you still have to do things for your species, not for the other ones. They have to be put into their place. If the natives here, pick a group of people, whatever. And unfortunately, you know what's interesting about it though, and I don't want to say I like it, but to live it real time and to have it reported, because it's always happening, but a lot of stuff that happens around the world doesn't get reported to us, right? So this is the one that's getting reported because it's kind of a part of we're all part of the same thing. So like you're getting a daily feed of it, basically, right?
Right.
And to watch it happen. Check this out, though. To watch it happen and you can't do shit about it, I fucking love it because it puts a question mark on people, even in America, talking about our history and other histories and about why didn't they do this and why didn't they do that? Okay, now do this one then.
Yeah.
Think about this one. So that was done with no newspapers, no internet, no satellites, no globalization, no borders, no nation setup, no integration, no internet, no none, right? And you're like, well, why did this people do this and how did we get over here and they took us and whatever, right? All that bullshit, right? Forget all that shit, right?
Yeah.
You're living right now, DC. Genocide. Not talking about what Mao did and starved the people out, or what Stalin did and the gulags and what happened to the Polish. Forget all that, right? You living it right now. Not that it wasn't happening when we was alive. Obviously, all of Africa and the place. I'm not saying that. Just that right now we literally have social media. You have global connection. We're all talking to one another around the world. So I can even understand in the 90s or even in the early 2000s where things are happening where you're just not getting the information, right? You're not able to talk, not able to connect, right? But now in 2025, where it's kind of like we can talk to everybody, right? Everybody around the world. You can highlight it, right? You can let the world know. You can see the world responding or not responding to it.
For sure.
Not being narrowed down to 3 TV channels, or you know what I'm saying, right? Whereas things even back, not too long ago was very narrow. If you're not getting, you got to hear about it or get somebody there to, you have it all. I would argue you have all the information now. We all have it all, right? The United Nations, the G7, all the different organizations that fall below that. All the nations around the world is watching it. We're all watching it daily. I mean, I'm watching it daily, right? Daily for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with Ukraine and Russia, you're not really seeing it like that. You got to go get that. You got to go get that info. This is happening. We're talking about this every day, for the most part.
Yep.
And they're genociding people. Like I said, I think it's 500,000, starving the people.
Yeah. Everybody sees it.
People are fighting, right? Everybody sees it. What they doing?
Everybody sees it.
Tell me what all the people that's talking. What are they doing?
You can't do anything, man.
Not a fucking. What you gonna do?
You have to understand.
What you gonna do?
You got to get to the doing part. That's why we always talk about the war and the fighting so much. That's the real shit.
You out here having to appeal to people. You have to appeal to their morale. Don't y'all feel bad in Israel? Don't you feel? What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I mean that. If you don't have anything else, then yeah, I get it. Do that, but don't make it seem like that is the end all be all, because that is not. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I would tell people. Just understand the battle that you're
fighting. But they're so common people are so brainwashed. They're so brainwashed, bro.
No, that's what I'm saying. But just don't make it a grandiose thing.
Remember something. Your ego.
We're talking about. That's all.
But your ego, like what you're talking right now, the people that's in the ether, they're blinded, but they can't. They won't. You don't even know that you're blind, right? So how can you recognize that? Not what I mean. And I'm not really talking about regular people right now. I'm talking about people who have podcasts, people who have shows, people who are out here talking about they're being experts and they're teachers and they know things and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
There is no fucking way that like I think it was I watch Hassan all the time, right? Hassan Abbey. He got on Twitch. He got 70,000 people at a time watching, right?
I got love for Hassan. I do. Yeah.
And Hassan is talking that talk, right? But it's like you talking.
Yeah.
You just talking.
And he knows
he feels a certain way. Yeah. I don't think he does. No. They all know that part.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is deception. But the rest of it is deception to the people because they won't consistently check themselves because you lose your audience once you don't appear to be a leader of something. That's what I'm trying to say.
Then that's the big problem. That's the problem that I have with it also too.
Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly, pick a talking head. They can never come off a certain way.
Right. No, I mean I get it. Yeah. I mean I can't deny that part.
Because look, the Democrats and Republicans, right? The Democrats and Republicans who represent us, the military, the intelligence agencies, right? It's almost like it's difficult to explain in the sense that this is what we want.
Right.
You just can't handle it when it goes into play, right? Because the last time I checked, I mean, you could tell me when we went to go fight in World War I and World War II. How many protests were there?
Man.
Right.
Yeah.
What I mean is that did America rise up and tell the government don't do? You see what I'm saying? When America was now labeled or accepted the global positioning, right? And instead of it being like you got these goofy motherfuckers talking about multipolar worlds and China and just goofy shit, right? Goofiness, but it makes money. But anyway, but when America was chosen, I would argue, to represent and control and manage, and we're probably the best country that I think has ever done it in world history, obviously. But I'm pro-America, of course, so I'm biased. But
no, Let's be honest. For stabilization purposes, and no matter how you feel about America, then like I said, I got problems. Like I said, I already talked about how I want to live off the same kind of viewpoint that the Jewish people can live off of. But you have to.
we
You
can have
have
we
to.
can have a debate. I don't know if you want that though. Do you? You sure you want? You
Man.
sure you want what they got?
Well, it's caveats to it.
Let me
It's
ask you this:
caveats to it.
Do you? No,
Because
I'm not gonna say that on live.
because
Never mind.
we probably can't talk about it because of the location and how
No,
sensitive
we
it
can't do
is.
too much.
Yeah,
Not.
not
I
at
want
all.
to say some crazy stuff, but I actually I really can't. I don't want to say it actually.
They'll strike us, man. They'll strike us
I
on
don't want
that
to say
one.
it. We're already being monitored. We're teeny weeny, teeny tiny. It's
Right.
kind of strange. But I will say this though. No, but for the Jews, the only issue I have with what you said, the only issue I have is that we are not in any shape or form like that situation. And what they're doing, I don't know how it could be. I don't know how you can make the statement. To be totally honest with you,
Hmm.
because they're colonizers and they're victims and they're warmongers
And they're
and they're
warmongers.
and they're and they're, and they're integrated into the European 2,000 year
Interwoven.
history.
Not integrated. They
Interwoven.
interwoven.
They helped
Yeah.
build that place.
They
And
helped
the
build
thing
it.
is that, and I'm gonna tell you something, and I don't really want to say it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If you look at how they move today, like, because I would argue that they're exposed, right? They're showing themselves, but they're fighting, so they have to show themselves, right? And
Right.
they're trying to control it as much as they can, but they can't. Simple, it's what it is, right? It is what it is. You can blame Netanyahu. You can try to arrest him. You can make all this. You can blame him. It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. You're all lying. You're all lying. You know, the so-called Jew-hating Jews and everybody's lying, bro. But it's fun to watch. This is the thing, DC. Those people and what they're doing, what they have been doing, and remember something. We don't. I mean, you can research it, of course, obviously on your, but the propaganda, right, about Germany, right, and Russia and other places and etc. And they're part of those civilizations, right?
Oh yeah.
And during all of those times, they're involved in politics. Now, look at what's happening now. You don't think it's easy to set them up and turn on them?
Oh,
See what I'm saying?
absolutely.
So,
No,
so
I
my
get it.
point is that I could see, because of how they behave and what they're doing, I could see if you had a person who had more power as an individual in America can easily do things to them because of what they're doing. That makes any sense. They don't even know it. I see, because I've been watching them for a minute because of everything that's going on for the last couple of years. Prior to that, we would see the stuff. They would go to fight back and forth. You hear different things, but this is it, right? This, to me, this is this is it. This is the big play. And because of that, they're so exposed. And I'm thinking to myself, well, the powers that be know how y'all are. I can now see how y'all are. I can see how easy it is to do it to you, and why I understand why they're fighting so hard to try to keep the perception clean,
Oh
right,
yeah.
as much as possible, and still do what they do, right? And unfortunately, and again, I would argue maybe the average person still don't really give a fuck either way, but more people can really kind of see how they operate, right? Whereas, like, you don't support us, or fuck you, and and you're all in, or you're not all in. I'm thinking to myself, you're in America, right? And now you got people saying that it's Ben Shapiro, and you probably Israel, you probably what are you? And you can see, I can easily see how they can easily be demonized and then be, things done to them. It's obvious, I couldn't see it before, obviously, because I didn't have all the plays, right? But watching it play, bro, and watching how aggressive they are, I'm like, you guys are not making, you're making it easy. I can see why. I can see even how they're like, we want y'all out of the country. Think about that. They expelled them out of those countries in Europe, bro. Think about that. What are you always say? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're doing something clearly. If the people who run those places want you out, what's going on? That's weird. And you're kind of, they're victimizing themselves, chalking it up to the history and the Bible and blah blah blah. It's like, nah, bro, you're involved, and when you involve yourself in this type of stuff, no different than the guy from New York or a black person. It doesn't really matter who you are. If you're not if it's not your actual situation, if it's not your shit, and you're not the dominant group and the numbers and everything else and control of everything, you're playing. You know, you're kind of playing with fire to a degree, right? Because you're having to keep everybody buying into you because you literally don't really have the power, right? You're having to leverage. You're having to heavily leverage, and spend a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of political capital for your perception to accomplish the goal that they're trying to accomplish right now by colonizing Israel. And it's a masterpiece, right? It's a blueprint. The English have done it forever. It's a blueprint. You can mask it in Christianity, right? You can mask it in democracy. You can mask it in a better life for people. We have a better system in place. It's better for everybody else, right? You look at the Hong Kong thing, where the Hong Kong prefer to be under British rule. Just put that in perspective, by the way. See that race shit? How it kind of don't mean anything, but it means everything, but it don't mean anything at the same time. Now, how the fuck are you? Because it's not, it's not really such thing as Chinese. Obviously, that's a whole other conversation. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting, though, right? Is that the Hong Kong, millions of them protested to stay under British rule. At the same time, the Indians supposedly hate the British. Black, all the dynamics right around the world. They're robbing us, taking all our resources. Why the fuck Hong Kong want to stay under the British?
Yeah, that's crazy.
We don't want to go to mainland. We don't want to be part of the motherfuckers. We could over here by ourselves.
That's crazy.
It's interesting, and I get that, they've been programmed and conditioned. I mean, I get it, obviously, but it's still funny that once you put the program in there, that's what's running now. And you can be mad about it. You can try to create organizations to people are like, well, we're gonna be pro this because they did this to us. Like, you can do all that shit, but when the program takes, brother, program, it's just what it is, right?
Yeah, it takes, man.
It takes.
Yeah.
And guess what, DC? If you don't buy into the program, no matter what side you're on, you have to kill the other people. That's what human beings do.
That's what people don't understand, man. Do you want the friendly confines? Do you want to live to fight another day, or do you want to be exterminated? Full stop, man. You have to be able to be strategic about some of the things that you're fighting about.
And Israel, if Israel says, well, same with America, right? If Israel says, well, we want to take more land, how do we do it? Well, we're going to pay the people who run that place that we set up, and then we're going to maybe disappear in a space, right? No protection there, right? Let them come in, do the atrocity that we need them to do. So you're a Native American. If you're the Cherokee or whoever, right? Pick a group, whatever group you want to pick, and say, well, we're gonna let y'all kill a bunch of us. That's all we need.
Right.
Because then it don't matter about who you are, the border. We love the land. Is your land? That don't mean shit, right? Once you take that next step, and that's one reason why the Ayatollah didn't. That's why he didn't do what he did, by the way, because he could have just killed a bunch of American soldiers if he really wanted to smoke. And so he's probably talking to China, right? They're like, look, you gotta play this a certain way, right? If you still, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan. What's the sixth one I'm missing? I'm missing one more. It's like, good luck. How you want it? Even with Tucker and Ted Cruz, it was funny because they're like, I say, yeah, from a media perspective, you could use that and spin it, and they could be mad about different things, and maybe Ted don't know certain things. That doesn't really, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really mean anything now, but it makes regular people feel a certain way, right? Like, oh, he got Ted. If you're on the right, oh, he exposed Ted. Ted Cruz, he don't even know the population of it. It's like, bro, that shit is. It's like, come on, man. It's like, come on, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, right? You know how that whole thing went. I know you was like, yeah, let's do the Ted Cruz thing. It's like, yeah, it's fun. No, it's fun, but it don't. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. So Tucker had that conversation, right? All the MAGA people, Steve Bannon, Marjorie, and just a whole list of them, right? Mm-hmm. They took their hard position, They yell, they scream, they whine like little babies, but they came off as strong, right? Confident, strong. I'm intelligent, I'm smart. What you doing is stupid. Guess what Trump did? I'm sorry, not Trump. Think about this perspective, right? While all the people are running their mouths on the internet and in the media, right? What was the Joint Chiefs doing prior to all of that for months? Hello, DC, you there, Mike? What? Not under Trump, under Biden.
Hold on. What did you say now? I'm sorry. What
So
happened?
so think about this, right? We don't. I would argue my position. We don't just do things like we just don't be doing stuff out the blue, right?
Okay.
So Iran's been a target forever, but then Trump ran politics, and everybody's running their politics to get elected or whatever, right? Separate, that stuff's separate from the more of the real stuff. The real stuff is happening. Strategies are getting put in place domestically and internationally all the time, right? The president has to pick and choose what he wants to say. You just pick and choose what you want. How do you want to do it? We're gonna do it. Just how you want to make this look a certain way when we present it to the American people or whatever, right? So think about this. I think it would maybe you would the assumption would be based off if you're just watching the media, you would think the Tucker Carlson thing with Ted and other people talking and all the people coming out talking the left, the right, or whatever, right? The military, it was already happening. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was already happening. The intel was already being collected. All this was already happening. So while they were talking, the planes are already being put in. It's already happening. Isn't that funny? Is that you're watching that show as if, not me, but you know what I'm saying, right? You're kind of watching the show as if, oh man, Tucker's upset and he exposed Ted about they don't know nothing about Iran, but you want to invade Iran. It was already happening to show you the level of weakness from Tucker's position. You're trying to embarrass Ted. It gets a million clips. It goes viral. Even though Tucker had to call Trump and apologize, right? But it goes viral. It's crazy out there. It already was totally separate from reality. That looked like reality, right? But actually, the reality was the military already had the plans. The intel community already provided all the information. It was just picking the day. When we going? But the media hype and the talking and all the noise out there say you got nothing. You have no control over anything. You have no power over anything. This was gonna happen. The rest of it is just noise and spin. So anyway, just very it's just very funny. Just to show you, it just illustrates that as an empire or as just the type of nation that we're living in and our level of power and influence around the world, it's just interesting that people attach themselves to people who are just not going to really. They're not going to keep reinforcing that idea that understand where the power is at, understand what's actually going to happen versus the politics of it or versus people complaining. Tucker can complain all day. Alex Jones can complain all day. They can complain and whine about the secret this and the secret that, and I know that. So what? Right? So what? You're still not going to stop what we're going to do. Israel, do you think everybody in Israel wants this to happen? I don't know. Maybe, well, actually, I take it back. I think like 80, they claim, the polls say 86% of them want it to happen. So that tells you everything right there, obviously, right? Obviously, right. But like you said, though, is that America is speaking for people who, but if the Israeli people had a problem with colonization, they would be coming out in the millions, right? Yep. Saying we not gonna do this to these people. These are our people. That is not happening.
Nope.
At all. I think I see like 5 people protest. I mean, it's media. It's only through the media. I can't see everything, of course, right? They show like a handful of Israelis protesting. Actually in Israel protesting. A handful of people protesting. It's just mostly showing a lot of Americans protesting, and so the Americans are like, well, we want to support. I said, y'all don't get it, but they're learning. I mean, like, what I'm saying, like, you're learning. So as I can understand being a naive child in college and a professor who's taking advantage of you, and then they're orchestrating you guys to go out here and feel a certain way, not knowing that Israel and America and the West is separate on many levels that Islam, the East, the Middle East, etc. Right? There is something there, and you can spin it as racism. You can spin it how you want to finish it, right? But
Mhm.
there is something there, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And until the Middle East complies, um, and many of the countries obviously they're complying. If they do not transform and line themselves more with us, especially when remember something, they don't have to do it. The problem is they don't have nowhere else to go, right?
Mhm.
Because when the president of Syria they finally got to him, where is he at right now? He ran to Russia, but Russia didn't save his country.
Right.
You know, we got our people in there now. The ex Al Qaeda, the ex one of the ex. I think either he's from Al Qaeda, or he's one of the spinoffs of Al Qaeda. We got him as he's our president now. You know, and so it's just funny watching people have to accept the reality of it. But instead of doing that, they're spinning. Is my whole point. Well, America keeps putting all these. They don't believe in democracy. They keep putting all these dictators. Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So what do you? I mean, what are you upset about? Well, they keep saying that we did, but it's the actions and the doing, not the rhetoric, right? We install dictators, and what? And what?
Mhm.
Dude, like 70 countries, bro. I mean, like you know how like what is it? When does it get to the point where you can't that you're not getting it? Like it's not clicking. So that's how I know that people are so dug into their ideology, their philosophies, and I think it does mislead most people in this country because instead of accepting what we are and then dealing with it, right? Accept what we are and then deal with it. But trying to tell us that we're not something. Think about how liberal we are, and look at what we're doing, DC. We're still colonizing.
That's
Think about
uh,
you can't tell me that's not funny, bro. You can't. No one can tell me that's
that is
not
no,
funny.
that's funny. It is
No
funny.
one can tell me that's not funny, bro. And
Kind of funny.
Americans are trying their best to act like it's not happening. That's why I tell you about Democrats, by the way, and especially the left. When they keep talking to us and telling us that they're not this, and we support, it's like that's not possible.
Mhm.
But they believe it. Don't get it twisted. They're not. They truly believe it. Not even they believe it, and then they convince us of it, and we get sucked into that. Even it doesn't matter about the level. We're just on the level. I keep telling you. I know we're just on the level. There's nothing I can do about that, right? So
Mhm.
from the left perspective, it's like they are dedicated to making it seem like we're not something. At the same time, confessing that we are exactly that.
Right.
And it does. I think it does cause. They gave Obama the peace prize, bro. I said, how
No,
the hell?
it's all
When he
confusing.
got the when he got the peace prize, the moment I heard that, I said, how is that possible when we're drone striking? I said it real time. Like what?
Mhm.
What? What's going on? Which is why they're trying to lobby for Trump to get a peace prize. I said that's all. These are all perceptions and schemes and hooking people up. It's not really an honest. You understand? It's not really what it's supposed to be. It's bastardized at this point. If it was, you know, if it wasn't invented and being bastardized from the offshoot, and now he want one because Obama got one. I don't know how no American president can get a. I don't know. I don't know how that's even even in the conversation. To be honest with you, that also shows you the level of dissonance. You think about even saying things like that. What is it? What's one of the phrases they're using on the right? Peace through strength. Is that Reagan? Who was what? I forget what president that was. Peace through strength. Maybe it's Reagan.
No, that was Reagan.
Somebody.
Yeah. Peace through peace through strength. Yeah. So to regulate other countries to get to a peaceful resolution. The same thing that we did all those spy games with Russia and other places um, during the
Right.
80s.
With all the proxy wars, murdering people.
Yeah, a lot of deception there. And then
Right.
you would say something like, "Yeah, we are to ensure peace. We have to police the world to a degree." Yeah, I know you want to have that authoritarian government, but no, we can't do that because if we allow you to go into too much power, then you will be a problem. So, no, I get it, man. It's a very it it's a hard truth that this country has a very I don't know if I don't know where it would be the responsibility of the government to inform people the proper way of what we're doing, other than the ideals of what we're trying to uphold. Because yeah, you're going to feel the imperialistic might of the United States, and it's not all good around the world. That's for sure, and it gone as a response. I'm just saying, like, once we understand the response, we have to speak to our complicity in this country when we deal with that. We have to admit to it, basically. We have to. And it's not all benevolent. If it can't be benevolent at the same time, and then also, um, we're warmongers on the other. It doesn't work that way. That's why I look at eternal international affairs, global politics in a very, very, very nuanced way. It's hard to split the it's hard to split the actual divide on what is something that we should or shouldn't do when it comes down to global politics, when it's interest involved for the country and others involved, because it's always like, well, if we didn't do this, then this would have happened here, you know. So we need to police the world to make it safer. It's much better this way than to have all of a sudden. I mean, can you imagine if we had like five superpowers legitimately in the world paradox? Could you imagine that, bro? Five legitimate superpower people, basically countries, working in opposition to each other to garner control over the world, because you can't tell them what to do. No, you can't tell us what to do. Who are you? So it makes it difficult.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's clear that the world collectively, at least the powers that be, they can even have that conversation, have made that known, which is why you push the propaganda anywhere. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
that's why it's like you say, it's constantly having to talk about it, constantly having to discuss it, constantly having to monitor and have those meetings, have those events all over the world constantly. And we not even get into the economics of it, right? Like it's just so many layers.
And then there's the economics of it. Jeez.
So many layers, because you gotta make sure everything is rolling.
Because
All,
you gotta.
all remember, all at the same time. By the way, remember the oil is still coming out of Iran. You see, it was like things
Huh?
are still rocking. You know what
I
I'm
know.
saying? And so big countries like China still need their stuff, and other places still need their stuff. We need our, everything is just kind of funny. Um, 'Cause I mean, the markets, to be able to hold the markets in place, even though I think rates, I agree with Trump that rates probably should have been cut, but even holding the rates where the rates are, and holding the markets, it's impressive, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
It just shows you that Trump and his administration has a pretty tight grip on a lot of things, at least today. I can't speak for tomorrow, but up until the day, because a lot of times the markets act crazy for a few days, a week, or whatever, maybe even longer, depending on, what I'm saying, right? Like who's in charge? Really, you keep it simple. And so clearly, they had a lot of people talking to a lot of market movers, like, look, sit tight, because I was thinking, is what is oil going to do? What is the overall market going to do? How is it going to affect the global markets as well, all over the world? And because Iran could have done some things, and they still might, we just don't know yet, right? To impact the markets, of course. Uh, it just also shows you their level of influence, right? But again, remember the propaganda, though, right? The moment he does it, think about the Americans. Oh, well, Iran's going to shut down the straits. Okay, well, and then if he does it, then what? Then what does your comment mean? Where'd you get your information from then? You know, it kind of makes you. It should make you question
Right.
everybody because they make a statement. I mean, experts, they bring them on from different colleges and different think tanks. They bring them on. They first thing they said was, and even just the regular mainstream media, you know, he's going to do this. Where are you? What are you talking about? You don't know anything. You just got some people who are speculating, and instead of caveating by saying, and some of them do that, but they really want to push the thought because it's going to drive the numbers. And they know folks are going to just buy it. They're not going to really think about it. They're going to kind of buy into it. And when it doesn't happen, you just don't talk. You just keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he hasn't done the thing that you said he's going to do, then what does that mean? So all of your expertise, all of your stuff goes. I mean, who are you at this point?
Mm.
And I'm, by the way, and don't get it twisted. I'm waiting for Iran. Nothing secret. Nothing secret. I'm waiting for them to do something where we know.
Yeah.
Oh wow, they did this. Oh, they shut this down. Oh, it's causing a snowball effect in this. Trump is your fault. I'm waiting for that to happen. If it doesn't happen, and it hasn't yet, watch how fast they've already kind of doing it now with the whole New York thing. Watch how fast the media act like nothing ever happened. Watch. They won't mention the bombings. They won't mention the nuke. They will stop talking about it, bro. And people will just move on and never question all the information that you got from all these people that you're also parroting, by the way, on little YouTube channels and just in your life in general, right? You already gonna be parroting those things, just recycling the information, reciting the information, and never think back like, you know what? That never happened,
Mm-hmm.
right?
No, right.
This is interesting. Remember,
Right.
oil spiked to 100, right? Eggs aren't $20. They just don't mention it no more. This doesn't happen, right? Gas is $5, right? Again, don't know what tomorrow holds when it comes to this stuff, right? I'm just talking about up until right now, today. Actually, I think oil was peaking. Oil did jump up prior to all this stuff a little, about maybe $10, $20, I think, but it did start to come back down again. But I thought it was gonna run though. To be honest with you, I thought it was gonna be nervous enough, at least for like for a moment, maybe to pop to maybe 90 or something like that, just to create some nervousness. But the markets held together. I was very surprised, to be honest with you. And you don't know. I don't remember really seeing that. You know what I'm saying? Especially with a strike like that. I thought
Right.
the markets would be jittery. The global markets would be jittery. But not yet. Not yet. But that's just up until today. You know, like I said, when it comes to economic stuff, man, they're like scared deers, man. You just it don't take much.
No, it doesn't.
But it does show you that the markets have a lot of confidence in Trump. It's that won't ever get said, by the way. They won't ever correlate those two things. You know that, right? He's a fucking idiot. That's not possible. It's like it's literally happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's literally. I'm looking at the markets like, it's interesting. You know, I definitely thought I would see some kind of sell off somewhere, but I was surprised, pleasantly surprised that if you do things a certain way, and at least the perception wise, it's a positive outcome. How you can manage certain things when it comes to that, even though we have to concede that Trump crashed the markets at the same time.
Right.
He freaked the markets out. He lost $7 trillion. You know, yeah. So he's you know how it's like let me one of the progressives was saying it too. They had me laughing. I got it from them. They had me laughing like you crashed the market. You ignore that part and blame Biden for that. And then the markets come back up. You take credit as if you eclipsed where it was. If it was 50,000, the Dow. If the Dow was 50 and oil was oil can only go so low at this point. But if oil was say 40-ish, somewhere around there, and it dropped That'll be it's like okay. But you still got to get back to. I think when Biden left, was the market at 46, the Dow? It was maybe 46. I think somewhere around 45, 46. I think we're only at like 43.8. So it's still not 100% recovery. So I think that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Powell and he don't feel like the market is strong enough, to cut rates either. So he just holding the position for right now. So that also tells me there's something that he doesn't like. So he don't want to cut rates. Clearly, it's not as bad because he didn't raise rates either, though, right?
True.
But Trump wants him to slash him because he knows that if obviously Powell's doing what he has to do, but he knows he can get him to cut them rates to zero if he could, right? He know the market would go crazy. Refinancing, it would just be a whole nother. He knows we've been a whole nother world, but he's concerned about making it too hot and causing other issues on the back end. So,
Mm-hmm.
but Trump wants that. He wants that glory though.
He want that legacy. We'll see, man.
Well, you got time. It's early. It's only been 6 months, so you just gotta sit tight and see if all these investors are going to come in. That people are not propose. What do they call it? Committing to. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it. I want to see tangible though. He's like, they committed $15 trillion. I said, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see if they're really going to come through.
Mm-hmm. You got any videos you want to play, or you good on that?
It really just depends on where you want to go and what side and which side do you want?
I want to.
You said Iran, right?
Yeah, Iran. We could deal with Iran, and then we could deal with it from the right perspective. Yeah, well, that's cool.
Well, the right is all which side of the right?
Both sides, so we could deal with the ones that are pro the escalation.
Well, you're on the show Tucker on the last show, didn't we?
Yeah, we showed that one. We showed Tucker. Yeah.
You showed Tucker. And it's so funny too that after the bombs get dropped, everybody's like, "Well, listen, happen now." It's like exactly adjust, adapt, improvise. The fantasies of thinking that you're gonna stop something, I find it so novel. Yeah, I will play. Let me see if I can find something that's interesting. It's so much, bro. And you got everybody talking about they've been saying World War III, the new Cold War, and
Say what?
you know how that go.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Nah, I can't do that one. I be thinking about myself. Who does some of these folks work for, man? I was really trying to figure that out. You know what would probably be good? If you want to do a fun one, is probably Pierce. When is this one? This would be good, probably. If you want to do Pierce, Jank, Mehdi. I don't. I think this is the. I don't think he's a fight. He's not the. He's not the finance minister. I forget the guy from Israel. But the guy from Israel, I can't think of his position. And then the professor, that's from Iran. This one professor, bro. I mean, this I love this shit, bro. This other professor went on Piers Morgan and said, "I 100% support the attacks on October 7th."
That's funny.
Because remember something, you got to pick a side, and that's it. That's it. No matter what the ebbs and flows of the world, you have to pick a side. And these people are weak. So you know when Piers was gun ho on Israel, gun ho, and then he found an angle, which was, you guys won't let international media into Gaza to see for ourselves. So I don't believe you. And we don't know how many people you have killed, and you can't answer how many people you have killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he figured out a way to move himself so he don't look like a whatever I guess a warmonger or whatever you want to call it, right? So he's trying to shift himself, and so now he's trapped because Iran and Palestinians, they're our enemy. Take it however you want to take it. They're our enemy, right? So of course, people who are so he ran to somebody on a different show. He ran to somebody who said and he didn't know what to say. He says, "I support it, absolutely." That and he went through a whole diatribe about whatever, and then Pierce didn't know what to do, but just take it and get on to the next part of the show, right? But it exposes you because you don't know that they want to kill all of Israel. I mean, they want to kill all the. They want to destroy Israel. You don't think that it's real? It doesn't matter what Israel is doing. Which side are you on? At the end of the day, obviously, right? It's just a hard thing to do. It just shows you individual people's characters, by the way, and where they stand and what they can tolerate. He's trying to make money. He's trying to get clicks and views. He want to go to certain dinner parties, right? He want to be a part of certain things, and your morality, right? Supposedly, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, right? Like you don't know what to do. Because even though it's going to happen, you know what's so funny about him, and what I get mad about is that no one ever talks about the British Empire on his show. No one ever indicts Britain. How did Britain get out of this? DC? How the fuck did that happen? They the ones who got it going like this in Israel. I was reading something about we've been talking about it forever though, but the British when they ruled that area, how they promised it to multiple people that they can have that land or whatever, and that's a part of why obviously you have a lot of the conflict because they made a lot of promises about I think they said that France can have it, the Turks can have it, I forget the list of people they were making promises to as they was doing what they were doing as the kingdom, but how did they somehow what they figured out is that we're gonna let America take all our sins.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man.
Have you? Isn't that what it's like? And I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure a lot of Americans don't like it, but like, you cannot run so many different schemes on people's consciousness when it's so many. It's so obvious. And honestly, I've been trying to find it for a while. Really, most people just have gotten off of the UK. They just gotten off of it. Your empire is small now. You're this and you're this, and we're just gonna let it just be. So we'll mention it here and there, but no one really want to hammer that. And so that allows British people to talk reckless. By the way, you know that, right? Take all kind of positions about things. I'm like, but you're responsible for pretty much all the things they were living through as far as the timeline goes, right? These are all based off of what you did in the French, in the Spanish. We're still working through those. You're still kind of working through, a lot of those things that got set up by them.
Oh.
And I've been shocked for 2 years. No one has went on his show or a lot of these other shows with British people and just cooked them. I mean, just hammered them. You know, on how, you know, on your role historically, and still involved, by the way. That's the other funny part. still involved.
Right.
But it just goes to us. It just goes anyway. I don't want to keep talking. My bad. Let me see when this video. When was this video? This was. Oh no, this is too old. This was 13 days ago. It's too far. You don't want to talk about that. That's too old, right? Too old.
Which one? Which one is that?
The one I was telling you about on Pierce's show, where he said the title. This is not our war. Israel strikes. No, that's way back. That's when they struck Iran. That's not even the bombings actually.
Oh no, yeah, that'd be too far away. Yeah.
I thought I saved. Well, I must have put it under some other folder. I can give you something boring. No, we don't want to do boring though. You should. I don't know if you've seen the video with President Trump held the press briefing. You said you want to do something on the right. Did you want to do Trump's press briefing back on June 27th? That was 2 days ago. You want to start
could do
there?
That one. Yeah, we could do that.
Kind of skip through if we need to. Trump turns against Iran 11 days ago. I thought I had more recent videos that I flagged, but maybe not. Let's see.
This morning, the Supreme Court has delivered a monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers, and the rule of law in striking down the excessive use of nationwide injunctions to interfere with the normal functioning of the executive branch. The Supreme Court has stopped the presidency itself. That's what they've done. And really, it's been an amazing period of time this last hour. There are people elated all over the country. I've seen such happiness and spirit. Sometimes you don't see that, but this case is very important. I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months, we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president to stop the American.
Oh, my bad, DC.
What happened?
I just forgot to tease you about something.
What's up?
So you see the whole thing with the birthright citizenships, and also that the Supreme Court I guess they get ready to look at that specifically, but how the Supreme Court whatever, you know, you were talking about before when we talked about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying the court's this, the court's that, and Trump is out of line. Said you see what happened, right? You see the Supreme Court and everybody else, they clean all that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And he locked in. That's what I was trying to tell you, is that
you can go and do
it. You can think.
No, go ahead. No, I'm saying he has people trying to sue him, but that doesn't have anything. That doesn't hold merit because, like I said, he has the ability to go ahead and press the button because it's the title of his office. You know, you can't jump into
stupid,
that.
Bro.
That's the only thing that is, bro.
No, it's fun watching the constitutional scholars and watching all the people who fall below them and other experts and lawyers and ex-government people, etc., and then everyone else who falls below them who act like they know shit. Forget all them, right? If you look at people who are actually in play here, and I was telling you that the Supreme Court and they're making moves right now. The assumption, I think, is funny that Trump and his staff is stupid. I find it fucking hilarious. It just shows you how lost people are in their how they've been propagandized to, and not living the reality that it's right in your fucking face. You know what I'm saying? Is that now what they're about to try to do? I don't know how that's gonna work. You heard about what they're trying to do, right? I think it's on this video with the I'm gonna play it in a minute though. That's what made me think about when I saw I think that's Pam, right? They're trying to stop individual courts. Don't give me the line. I don't understand this shit, right? But they're trying to stop individual judges from being able to stop things completely, right? I think they showed a graph on, I think CNN or somewhere where it showed like it was, I think Obama was like 20. I mean, Obama actually had a higher number than Bush and I forget and Biden. But anyway, I think they went up to Trump on like 60 different things or something like that. I need to lock in on that. I've been kind of doing other things, but they explain it from their perspective in this interview. Is that they're trying to stop individuals. I forgot exactly how they were trying to say it, from being able to stop certain things, and they feel like the president should not be able to happen, to the White House. So it's showing you that trying to expand more White House power, of course, right? But more power in the executive branch. What's interesting is that how it all works though, is that different branches are trying to capture power and they're pushing and putting on one another to try to balance it all out. But it seems like people are under the impression they may not like Trump or like the presidency or like Republicans being in power and vice versa. On the Democratic side, this is how it works. But it's just weird that people get more caught up in the soap opera or the drama of it all, right? And not looking at he has these authorities, right? You can bend the Constitution. That's what they always have done, right? Right, DC? Last time I checked.
That is correct.
And so that's the whole fucking point. And then you go to court and you figure it all out. But the spinning, the where it gets to me kind of stupid is everything that drops below that, which is people trying to turn it into other things. Oh, it's fascism. It's how I be messing with you about that. Like you throw everything else out, but it's like that's not what you're saying is fucking ridiculous at the end of the day. But it creates fear in people is my whole point, by the way. You understand? You know what I'm saying? Because people have these weird extreme positions, especially online. And then, there's no checks on the internet, right? So it allows you to take those positions, and people buy into the bullshit. But again, because he put the military in California, right? They're freaking out about that, right? They said it wasn't right. He can't have a military in Cali. He can't have on the ground out there. And the judge is like, you good, bro. Don't worry about it. You straight. Relax.
It's not that he can't. It's that normally. That's what I'm saying. The protocol is to reach out to the governor of the actual state.
Sure.
And say,
invading Iraq was normal, right? Dropping the 2 bombs on Japan was normal, right? I got you.
Nope.
Yeah, it's always been normal. It's always been normal until Trump got in charge. Yeah, okay, I got you. Sure, whatever you say.
It's not at all normal.
Let me hit play.
Not at all normal.
American people from getting the policy.
We make norms. We produce norms. This is America. This is what we do. We make norms.
Policies that they voted for in record numbers. It was a grave threat to democracy, frankly. And instead of merely ruling on the immediate cases before them, these judges have attempted to dictate the law for the entire nation. In practice, this meant that if any one of the nearly 700 federal judges disagreed with the policy of a duly elected president of the United States, he or she could block that policy from going into effect or at least delay it for many years, tie it up in the court system. This was a colossal abuse of power which never occurred in American history prior to recent decades. And we've been hit with more nationwide injunctions than were issued in the entire 20th century together. Think of it, more than the entire 20th century, me. I'm grateful to the Supreme Court for stepping in and solving this very, very big and complex problem, and they've made it very simple. I want to thank Justice Barrett, who wrote the opinion brilliantly, as well as Chief Justice Roberts, and Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Thomas. great people. Thanks for this decision, and thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country.
Any comment on that?
Say, rewind it one more time because I remember this.
He's gonna say it a couple of times. It was just 2 days ago, Friday, okay. I think.
Yeah.
Ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. We have so many of them. I have a whole list. I'm not going to bore you, and I'm going to have Pam get up and say a few words, but there's really, she could talk as long as she wants, because this is a very important decision. This is a decision that covers a tremendous amount of territory. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant. It's a giant. And they should be very proud. And our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today. And with that, I'd like you to listen to the words of Pam Bondi. She's an incredible attorney general. We're very proud of her. And as you know, Todd Blanche is with us, and we have so many others that worked on this case and other cases. And I think they're doing a great job. Pam, please say a few words.
Did you have a reaction to that or no?
Well, no, I think that here's the thing that I don't that I don't really, like I said, the birthright citizenship, has it been abused? Yes, it has been abused. Do I think that he has it kind of confused? Because, like I say, the birth of slaves were always citizenship. Were always citizens. The trying to compare that to what the immigration policies are today is a little bit of a stretch to me. But I understand the historical context of it all. There has been a pathway to people getting citizenship, but that is something that's been enacted already. Like I say, go through the courts to make the change of the laws. If you do not want the birthright of citizens to be here in this country, basically saying that people that are born here, if you're born here from a person that is not an actual I guess what we call a nationalized citizen, then you would not be a person that's a citizen either, you know, basically. You think that is the right way to deal with our immigration problem?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, I'm asking you a question on that.
Doesn't matter what I think. It's about to happen. Who cares?
I don't know about that happening. You really think that that's going to actually happen? You believe that?
I don't know. About to find out.
Yeah, I don't think that. Now that I don't think it's going to get passed in the courts.
The Supreme Court. We about to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care either way. It's gonna happen. So me trying to take a position. I mean, this is what power looks like.
Right.
So he.
But you do understand that does strengthen people's argument about, you know, the country being a different type of country that is not what it was basically based off before. Because, like I said, if that's the case, then a lot of the people that he's related to, plus his family members included, mom included,
Okay.
Some of his other relatives included
And what?
would
What that mean?
fall under
So
that
what?
same kind of thing.
So what?
I'm just saying that
What's your point?
that is the hypocrisy of it all. That's my point. He's not a person
Okay.
that has clear
Hypocrisy
American
is the
lineage.
norm.
Okay.
Hypocrisy is the norm. And
As
what?
long as that's the case, then that's fine.
But
I don't
no, it's not as
really.
long as it is the case. It's happening. What are you talking about? You talking about some other stuff. That is
I'm not
happening.
talking about some other
So
stuff.
put it this way: if someone pulls Trump to the side and say, "Well, Trump, you know that your mom, whatever, dude, this is about to happen." So you talking about all that other bullshit don't mean anything.
No, I'm saying it.
That's
I'm
what I'm
saying
talking
it
about. You
as
talking about some other
as
shit.
an argument. No, I'm saying it as an argument against. Not
All
saying
right,
what's going to
you in
happen
the
or not
judiciary
gonna happen.
system?
No.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you
I'm
say, boss.
I'm saying it as an argument against.
Okay.
So that's when you would hear. That's why I said, like, when you do stuff like that, that's why people strengthen their argument against this being an authoritarian government, going over basically the rule of law. It's
The
on the
dude is
books
going through the
that.
courts. What the hell? What are you talking about?
No, but I'm saying it says about
Laws
the
get
rule of
changed.
law.
Laws
If
get
you're
changed all
born,
the time.
well, yeah, then
What are we talking
that's
about?
fine. If it gets
Countries
changed, it gets
changes.
changed.
People
Hold
change.
on.
Things change.
No, listen. If it gets changed, it gets changed. That's a different thing.
That's that rhetoric though. I mean, if two-thirds is it 2/3 of Congress to change an amendment? If that ever happens, then it happens, right? I'm just saying, like, if our environment allows something to happen, and a particular branch of government is able to push it, that doesn't make anything authority. What are you talking? That's bullshit rhetoric. Really? I mean,
So
what do you
okay, so do you think that all authoritarian governments are bad?
Thank you, President.
Or got to be something
I
that's
don't know what
considered
good
to
or
be.
bad. I don't know what that means. I'm good with that.
Well, what I'm saying is
what
that
it is.
authoritarian government is just basically changing the rule of law. It's just that's it. Not going through proper channels, man. It's not anything outside of that.
He's not going to the court.
I'm not. No, I'm saying he is skipping the process with some of the actual deportations of some of the people. Now he is. Yeah, he's forced to go through the courts because things have been ruled on. No, but I'm saying, like, things have been ruled on. But I'm saying, like, before they was trying to actually skip. You don't think that they was trying to skip going through the courts? They were not.
People
trying to skip that process.
People in positions do all type of. I mean, I don't know.
I'm asking you a question though. You keep saying that and like I said, this is not something that I'm arguing about. By the way, if it becomes the law of the land,
I'm just making a point. Like you're saying, well, the way you're phrasing it, I just think it's funny. That's all.
Well, how am I phrasing it? That is an issue for you.
I get it.
No, what I'm saying, but how if I
that's what people say, so I get it.
No. Listen, that's what I'm saying though. For real, seriously. If I am a person,
I'm dead serious.
No. I said I'm being serious. If I'm a person that is saying that, look, if somebody is born in this country, then they're an American citizen. Full stop. And that's the way it's been.
Yep.
That's the way it's been. You know, I understand the reason for the law, just like I originally understand that the first immigration issue was a Chinese one, not a Spanish one, not not people from Mexico. And like I said, if you dig into that history, that gets more complicated. So what's going on with that? How long are we going to basically deal with that particular issue with the states becoming states during the mid to late 1800s? When you talk about states like California, you talk about states like Texas, that has a very significant Hispanic population, where these people pretty much are from these places, from these locations, nationalized citizens, by the way. So it gets complicated if you're talking about those particular people not being citizens of this particular landmass or this country. That's all I'm saying to you, bro. But I mean, that's I understand the point of view of what he's saying, and for people that support him, that makes sense. But when you look at it from the opposite angle, when somebody can say, well, okay, well, you're basically trying to change the laws and kind of run shot over what's already on the books, And yeah, they can point out the hypocrisy in it. It's just a way of fighting against what you deem to be your view of America.
Yeah, an extreme example of what you're talking about. That's why I was That's why I was pushing on it, is because it's like giving the land back to the natives. I mean, like, you know, it's like this is where we are. This is what's about to happen. So you can entertain yourself in the past in a certain way to spin it to make an argument, but this is what's about to happen at the end of the day. That's all I was trying to say.
When you say what's about to happen, what do you mean by that? I think that there may be some provisions to the
whatever they can figure out to put pressure on people from coming into this country, and you know, however you want to frame it, and figuring out a way to put pressure on that situation and not make it so easy and comfortable. Same with a lot of stuff with the border. Is that
I understand what you're saying though, but here's my caveat to all of that. Now, are you thinking that he's going to pass a bill or go through Congress to pass a bill that's going to be implementing this particular plan, and would that go through Congress and then pass the Senate, you think?
I don't know yet.
Okay. That's really what I was talking about, by the way. But okay. I got you.
Wait and see.
And Trump, thank you for fighting for all Americans. Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation. No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Think about that. 94 districts, and 35 out of the 40 opinions with nationwide injunctions came from 5 liberal districts in this country. No longer. These injunctions have blocked our policies, from tariffs to military readiness to immigration to foreign affairs, fraud, abuse, and many other issues. The judges have tried to seize the executive branch's power, and they cannot do that. No longer. And on immigration, on a side note, today marks 2,711 arrests on these terrorists and these gangs. Total arrest today with HSI investigations. And thank you, Stephen Miller. Thank you to Homeland Security. Thank you to everyone working hand in hand with the FBI on all of these transnational gangs. TDA has been a huge terror to our country, as well as MS-13, as well as Sinaloa cartels. No longer.
You had a reaction to that?
No, I'm just listening. Go ahead. You can play it.
Oh, I you support gangs. Well, you were laughing just now.
Come on, man.
Cartels. I'm confused.
Don't do that. No,
the left loves crime. Trust me on that.
Oh,
you poking the bear, so you know. I'm starting to hear that. I'm hearing that noise.
Oh my goodness, man, that is crazy, bro. Like, are you serious, man? Like, come on, man. This woman just flat out lied, though. All these people that went up against these injunctions and stuff like that from the local,
including Maryland, by the way,
from the state. Okay.
Maryland's one of those.
All of these are not. All of these are not liberal judges, by the way. She just lied. She lied.
She's spinning. I mean, it's okay.
No, but she lied. That's not a spin, bro.
It's all spin, baby. It's politics. Come on, man.
You can say most. But that's spin, man.
We don't say most under Trump.
She making it seem like all. It ain't all. That's
okay.
That's false.
What you gonna do about it,
man? Huh?
What you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about
What
it?
I'm going to do about it is speak truth to power. That's all I could do right
then,
now.
And then what happened?
Y'all running it up.
Then what happened?
Then you got to get to the doing part.
Oh,
you got to always get to the doing part.
You don't know about alligator Alcatraz? The doing is what you talking about. The doing is happening.
Of course.
Get to the doing. The doing is it's doing. What the fuck are you talking about? Then we just bomb Iran? You mean get to the doing?
What are you
talking about?
I just said.
Huh?
The border
went from 60,000 illegal to zero.
Listen,
get to the doing. What are you talking about? The Marines on the ground in California to shut down the left, trying to burn California down again. Get to the doing.
Hold on.
Nothing but doing is happening right now.
First of all, man, you're over exaggerating what was happening out in California, man. Paradox, don't do that.
No, don't.
Paradox,
I know. I mean, I don't think you don't get it. I don't think you get it. You clearly still somewhere else, bro. You don't get it. That statement right there telling me everything I need to know right there. You don't get it.
I don't.
You ain't getting it. You ain't getting it.
I don't get what, man.
I can't tell you. You ain't getting it though. What you just said. You clearly not. You're not getting what's going on there when it comes to this type of shit.
In California.
What did you just say? You know what you just said, right? What you just said was.
I said they wasn't burn. I said he wasn't burning up California, bro. They were not burning up California. California was not an issue. Absolutely.
You can't be serious, right? You joking, right?
So you really think the National Guard? You saying the National Guard needed to be? No, I'm asking. You saying in California the National Guard needed to be there? The National Guard needed to be there to quell the violence, to position themselves to control what was going on in a very limited, about 5 to 10 block radius.
You know the bad part. You know the bad part is. You know the sad part. You know the bad part is. I'm out the window, right? You know the sad part is. He's purposely not saying black. You know that, right? And it's going to be our turn soon. I wonder what I'm going to say then. What you think? You think he can hold back for 4 years? It's going to be our turn. You know that, right? From a Republican perspective, it's going to be our turn as blacks in America. Specifically blacks. Nobody else. No liberal, progressive, white, Asian, Indian, Arab. No, there's going to be black. I'm waiting for it, just so you know. But anyway, because he won't say it. You know, I'm going to come back to your question, by the way, but you know how he just said, you know how they keep saying, and some other things? You know, he's been saying it in every press conference all 5-6 months, by the way. You know that, right? He's told his staff, don't say black people. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I know what the far right's talking about.
I understand.
And I told a buddy of mine yesterday. I said, I'm talking shit, but it will be our turn. I'm gonna enjoy it while I can. But anyway, what I'm saying is, I don't want to give it to you, but you know how this works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so preempting, I just say that is how you check. Same with the border, the mindset, right? So I won't give you the whole thing on the California thing. I just say this: when Kamala said we want everybody to come here, which is still crazy to my brain, right? Or when Trump was getting out of office, right? And the border loaded up because they was gonna all come across. Now, and I think you probably had the same intel I got. You understand that there's some other things circumventing the Mexico thing, right? So since the border's closed and he's not talking about it yet because it's gonna be, I would argue it's gonna be a bit of an embarrassment. But there's people who follow, of course, the cartels, drugs, stuff, and that's what they do for a living or whatever. And there's other things happening where things are still taking place, but I won't give it out until it's more national, because if people are in the mix and they know what I'm talking about. So that in itself is fascinating, by the way. But neither here nor there. When Kamala said what she said, and when the border was loaded up, when Trump was exiting, and then all the people who was locked out, who couldn't get in for those 3 or 4 years or whatever, they all flooded in, right? Even though Joe Biden was obviously deporting whatever, the crazy numbers, of course, right? But they were still coming in. A lot of times, a lot of things is going to be based off what you think you can get away with. See what I'm saying? So you can spin it how you want to spin it politically. But, and I know that America generally, at least in our lifetime, kind of let a lot of things just happen and then deal with it after the fact. And don't in America, honestly, a lot of ways, I mean, I talk to people in national security. America has a bad habit of doing things after something takes place, right? Be it a hurricane, it doesn't matter. Or even if it's warfare, a lot of times, we're kind of, do things as it's not really a lot of preemptive things we do in a lot of circumstances, right? So a lot of things we know better, and instead of just getting it done before it potentially will happen, you prep, right? You have things set up, you design things differently, you work on that type of stuff instead of just chilling, right? And then things blow up, and then all of a sudden now you want to, get in the mix. But anyway, I'm just saying I don't want to do too much on California, but if you don't know what the plan was, because you're on the left, right? If you don't know what the plan was, bro, I mean, what do you want to tell you, DC? You know what the plan was, right? I almost can't help myself at this point. I mean, I almost can't help myself. If you don't know what the plans are until he's out of office, if you don't really know what the plans are, I'm disappointed. For you, I mean, you talk a Democrat over there. You're spinning on me. Cause I mean, like, you're talking heads. Because what you just said is so crazy.
Oh my goodness!
And by the way, it doesn't matter which president. It doesn't matter which side. By the way, there's things like I said. I don't even want to give it because I mean it's just obvious, bro. At the end of the day, and if you don't know, wait, he definitely knows more than anybody else. And how things are structured, which is why he's attacking the lower courts. How things are structured to make things happen. I'm gonna leave it alone because I can go, but I'm trying not to go into attack mode. But bruh, and we've been in the mix. I mean, did you want to talk about that? That's a crazy fucking statement you just said.
Why is that crazy though? Why is that a crazy statement that I just said? Why is that crazy? Because I said that California was not on that level of demanding a national interference. Why was that crazy? Even if that is your intent, there's other ways to get that resolution that he wants. No, that's not true, man. That's not true, man.
Who are you? Bullshit.
That's not true, man.
What are you talking about, right? But man, come on, bro. You've been looking at this stuff too long. You've been looking at this stuff too long, bro. If you understand how this works, and Trump has a PhD education on it. If you understand how this works, what needed to be done was done. You're spinning, which I'm surprised, by the way.
I'm not spinning.
You're spinning. That's a spin like I can't even say it. For you not to even know at this point is shocking to me.
I'm not spinning, by the way. I'm not spinning, bro.
You don't know you're not. You just don't notice what you're doing. Maybe that's what it is. But you are spinning. So you're telling me that you didn't put. You're so anti, possibly. I'm not saying you are, but potentially that is clouding your thought process because of your hard position that you have, and all your friends and people that you're online with. Everybody, y'all are all kind of. We talk about that organism, right? That organism thing. So you're part of that collective. So like you're not. So I can move in and out, I can move in and out. I'm asking you though. You didn't think about any of that situation. And why he put people there.
I don't think. Yeah,
regardless of the rules and laws, what he did what he had to do.
I don't think that it was necessary. That's what I meant.
Based off of what intelligence do you have to make that statement? Let me know that.
Based off
What intelligence? What intelligence do you have? Now, what intelligence do you have?
Man.
Fuck that. What intelligence have you gathered? What intelligence have you got that makes you make that statement with that level of confidence?
Oh, I didn't make it. I didn't make it with any level of confidence. I'm just saying that basically, I don't think that it was necessary.
But you're making statements. You're making You're making statements. So you got some intelligence, obviously, like everybody else on the internet, right? So y'all got intelligence.
No,
what intelligence can make you come up with that response?
Nah,
because you made a hard
that's
statement.
not what that is, man. That's not what that is.
Bullshit.
That's
what the lesson say. Stop it. What? Really?
That is not what that is, man. At all, actually. Not from my point of view. No.
And how did you gather that point of view? Like, what are you basing that off of? That statement you made. What are you gathering to get you to that point to where you would say that out loud on record?
Well, I see that. I think we're talking about two separate things. I think me and
sure
you
isn't. We talking about California, and I said what I said, and you said that ain't true. He didn't need to do all that. What you saying?
No, I don't think he needed to do all that. No.
Based off of what intelligence did you have? Where you getting it from? From CNN, MSNBC, like.
Oh man, come on. Man.
I mean, where you getting it?
You could go to the opposite.
Where you getting it from?
You could go to the opposite.
The governor of California?
You can go to the opposite level of that. No, I'm saying that there's a process. If it was needed, if it was something that was needed, then basically go through the process. That's it. That's all I'm telling you. And if you want to escalate it from there, then he can. He has the ability to.
You gotta be decisive, and you have to act. Period. Point blank. Oh, I'm not even going to tell you what I'm talking about. I thought you would have caught it, but it's cool. Let's play.
These injunctions have allowed district court judges to be emperors. They vetoed all of President Trump's power, and they cannot do that. This has been a bipartisan problem that has lasted 5 presidential terms, 5 different presidents, and it has ended today. We will continue to fight for President Trump's policies. I want to thank the Office of White House Counsel, Dave Warrington. You and your staff have been incredible. Our Solicitor General's office, John Sowers, Sarah Harris, and Todd Blanche and Emil Bovey. Todd's going to say a few words because we've had another major ruling today on transgender books and some other great wins that we've had. But no longer will they have this power in our country. It is the president's authority under his executive branch to do.
That's what I was talking about. You know that, right? You know that, right? You know what you said, right? Transgender books, and you know what? That's what I keep saying. You know what? They keep they're touching it, but they ain't talking about it.
Everything to fight for the American people, and he will continue to do that. That's why he was overwhelmingly elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's a great day for the rule of law. It's a great day for the Justice Department, and it's one that's been a long time coming, and one that every American should have been waiting for with bated breath. And so I echo what the president said and Attorney General Bondi, that the Supreme Court did a great thing today, not only for this administration, but for every American in this country. If not for the injunctions case, we would be here talking about another great decision that came down today, the trans books case, which restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight, and we thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct. And so we thank the Supreme Court for that. There's been multiple decisions over the past several weeks that just show why this nationwide injunction ban had to happen. For example, what I mean by that is local district court judges issuing decisions that are clearly contrary to law just because they don't like the policy of President Trump. And when it gets to the Supreme Court has to correct it. But that takes time. The Attorney General thanked our lawyers, and I'll do it again. Our lawyers are working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to fight these injunctions and to emergency appeals, emergency stays, going back to the district court judge, asking them to change their view. And so their hard work is really paying off today, but over the past few weeks. We had a stay of an order that prevented DHS from moving aliens to a third country. We had a stay of an order that stopped the Department of Defense from implementing military readiness, the EO that President Trump signed. We had another stay of an order forcing reinstatement of fired executive branch employees entirely within the president in Article 2, his right to do. We had a stay of, as you all know, of numerous DOJ cases. And again, every one of those stays requires a tremendous amount of work and effort by the lawyers and parties involved.
That the executive order is unconstitutional.
Oh, we're very confident, as you correctly transgender books by the Supreme Court.
Implement the EO just in states where there isn't a legal challenge?
Yes, so birthright citizenship will be decided in October in the next session by the Supreme Court, unless it comes down in the next few minutes. I guess it could come down. I think they're still deliberating right now on some cases. As you heard, we just got transgender books, which is a huge win, but most likely that will be decided in October in the next session. However, it indirectly impacts us because, as you correctly pointed out, if there's a birthright citizenship case in Oregon, it will only affect the plaintiff in Oregon, not the entire country. So yes, it's indirectly, but that's pending litigation, and we're waiting on that in the next term.
And how concerned are you that the Supreme Court will come back and determine that the executive order is unconstitutional?
Oh, we're very confident in the Supreme Court, but again, it's pending litigation, and that will directly be determined in October, but it indirectly impacts every case in this country, and we're thrilled with their decision today. Peter.
Madam Attorney General, thank you for being here to take our questions. A couple questions to the both of you. The EO had a 30-day grace period before it goes into effect. Is there any thought about trying to make it effective immediately within that period of time?
We're going to follow the law. We're going to make those decisions, and we're going to do what's right in the bounds of the law.
And then the DOJ didn't ask the...
Is that answer good enough for you right there? We're going to follow the law. You good? You good, DC?
I'm good.
Justices to rule on the merits of the birthright citizenship ban, just for explanation purposes, why?
Sure, because that's going to come down in October in the separate. This was huge because it's indirectly impacted today. As I said, it's case by case. Let me reiterate, of the 35 of the 40 nationwide injunctions filed against this president, against his executive authority as president of the United States, 35 of them came from Maryland, DC, Massachusetts, California, Washington. I mean, that's crazy. These 5 districts. So yes, it indirectly impacts us. It will be a separate decision in October. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. President. A question for you, sir. Do you believe this ends the power of the lower court judges to stop your agenda? Do you see this as a full green light for your agenda going forward?
Well, you'd have to really speak to the lawyers about that. But this is really also a decision based on common sense. It didn't work the other way. It was a disaster where somebody from a certain location in a very liberal state or a liberal judge or a liberal group of judges could tie up a whole country for years because their decision would sometimes take years to overturn. We've overturned many of the decisions, but it would take years to do it. And we have to act quickly when it comes to illegal immigration. We have murderers, killers, we have drug dealers, we have what they've allowed to come into our country. Should never be forgotten. It should never be forgotten what they've done to our country. And we have to be able to act very quickly, and we're going to do that. Thank you.
Just as Coney Barrett, sir, I know that you praised her and her opinion here in this case. She has taken some heat, though, from some of your supporters who have labeled her weak, a squishy, a rattled law professor. What is your take on that?
I don't know about that. I just have great respect for her. I always have. And her decision was brilliantly written today. From all accounts, yeah.
Transgender rulings, Mr. President. What would you say to Americans who fear that this is more and more concentration of power in the White House and the executive?
Well, this really brings back the Constitution. This is what it's all about. And this is really the opposite of that. I mean, the question is fine, but it's the opposite. The Constitution has been brought back.
Thank you so much, President Trump. Illegal crossings in the border are 0 now.
0. Does everyone hear that? 0.
Trump 2028. Do you intend, President Trump?
Who's that guy? I like him. He's working the cameras.
With this new reality, President Trump in the border, do you intend to engage personally with leaders from South America, not only Central America,
Sure.
in order to
I
tackle
do that
this
anyway.
situation
I
in
do
a
that
regional
anyway.
way? And if you have a perspective of meeting some
Sure.
presidents from South America, as Brazil, for example.
When you show, as an example, not South America, but NATO over the weekend. They have great respect for our country now. They did things that nobody thought was possible. They took funding from 2% to 5%. Nobody thought they'd ever pay the 2%, and now they're paying the 5%. It's over $1 trillion more a year. Think of that, $1 trillion. Nobody thought that could happen. That's a different group of people, different countries. But we get along with a lot of countries. We are respected again. Our country, the U.S., is respected again. Was not respected 6 months ago. I can tell you.
We ask about the
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, you have a deadline coming up on trade in 2 weeks. Which countries, if
On
any,
what?
on trade, on tariffs,
Yeah.
sir? Which countries, if any, are close to agreements with the administration?
Well, that's an interesting question. We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal with probably 4 or 5 different countries. With the UK, it was a great deal for both. And we're in the process of making some others. But ultimately, in fact, Scott is here and Howard Lutnick. These 2 guys have been doing an incredible job. And the people that work with them have been doing an incredible job. But, you know, we have 200 countries. You could say 200 countries plus. We can't do that. So at a certain point over the next week and a half or so, or maybe before, we're going to send out a letter. We talked to many of the countries, and we're just going to tell them what they have to pay to do business in the United States. And it's going to go very quickly. But some of the bigger countries, so India, I think we're going to reach a deal where we have the right to go in and trade. Right now, it's restricted. You can't walk in there. You can't even think about it. We're looking to get a full trade barrier dropping, which is unthinkable. And I'm not sure that that's going to happen. But as of this moment, we've agreed to that, go into Indian trade. We're going to be trading in China. That's going to come a little bit down the road, but we're going to be trading in China. We have a lot of great things going, and we're getting along with countries, but some will be disappointed because they're going to have to pay tariffs. And we've taken in already hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs. No inflation. The only problem we have is we have a Fed guy that doesn't understand what's happening, and it would be great if he'd lower the rate because we'd be able to borrow a lot cheaper. Yeah, go ahead, please. Why don't we keep it on this subject? This is such a big subject. You know what? Trade is so big, but this, I don't know, in a certain way, this might be bigger than trade. I think this is bigger than trade. Yes, please, go ahead.
I was wondering, though, if you could,
Go ahead.
sir, on the transgender ruling, the Supreme Court ruling that parents with religious objections can pull their kids out of public school lessons that use LGBTQ materials. Pam brought it up. Your reaction to that ruling today, sir?
I think the ruling was a great ruling, and I think it's a great ruling for parents. It's really a ruling.
Action in the Middle East. You were at The Hague. I'm
In a
wondering
hell of a
now.
week, hasn't it?
I'm wondering now if you
It's
believe
been
that
so
Iran.
weak.
I'm wondering now, sir, if you believe that Iran has given up its long history of ambitions with nuclear weapons, or what you would like to see from them to prove that they do, and what type of meetings is your administration looking for next week with Iran?
So Iran wants to meet. As you know, their sites were obliterated. They're very evil nuclear sites. They were, now has been proven. We had some fake news for a little while. The same people that covered the Hunter Biden laptop was from Russia. The same people that did 3 or 4 other Russia hoax.
But on their
No, wait, just listen. They came up with something that delayed the credit that our great pilots and these great what talent that was, and they hit it right down in the spot. 52,000 feet. Think of this, dark, no moon, you couldn't see a thing. And they hit the refrigerator door, as they say. That's the size of a target. And overwhelmingly, and it's amazing what was done. We're the only ones that could have done it. And we took out the other 2 of the other sites also. In addition to that, we finished them off. That was a very evil intention. I believe that, and again, time will tell, but I don't believe that they're going to go back into nuclear anytime soon. They spent over $1 trillion on nuclear, and they never got it together. And nothing was moved from the site, by the way. To do that is very dangerous. It's very, very heavy material. Those cars were most likely the cars of Masons because they were pouring concrete at the top, at the hatch, as you know, the hatch going into the nuclear site. They wanted to reinforce it, and they had some Masons there pouring concrete. By the way, that concrete was obliterated. It hit exactly at the concrete. It was, I don't think it had a chance to dry, but everything's down there. It's under millions of tons of rock. Please. Yes.
Your administration has said that El Salvador is one of the safest countries in the hemisphere. So why haven't you yet canceled temporary protective status for that country? Was it part of the deal?
Well, we'll take a look. We've had a great relationship with El Salvador. They have a fantastic leader. They built a massive prison system. And I don't know exactly why, but it's a hell of a system. And we bring people there. And when they go there, they don't get out. And frankly, when they hear they have to go there, they become very nice people. They become very nice people. It's a tough system, but it's a brilliant system. And it's a system done by a very, very good leader. We'll talk about El Salvador. A lot of respect. Yeah, please.
Thank you. A question for you and then a question for the Attorney General. As you go into negotiations and talks with Iran, are you demanding not only that there would be no uranium production inside of Iran, but also that Iran would turn over all existing stockpiles of uranium?
Well, you know, we're a little early for that, but something like that. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Let me say that I've been saying for 25 years, even as a civilian, you cannot let them have a nuclear weapon. And that's what happened. It's been obliterated. It would be years before they could ever get going. And I really think it's probably the last thing. They have to recover from a hell of a tough war.
Would you also be demanding that the IAEA have full rights to inspect in Iran?
Or somebody, yeah, or somebody that we respect, including ourselves.
And a question for both the President and the Attorney General. Under birthright citizenship, if this is implemented, who would be tasked with actually vetting citizenship? And how, like, would this be a situation where you have nurses and doctors checking for citizenship of parents? Or
this is all pending litigation. It's going to be decided in October by the Supreme Court, and we'll discuss that after the litigation.
If you have an undocumented baby, would that baby then be an enforcement priority?
The violent criminals in our country are the priority now. Let me put it in perspective. Today marked the 2,711th arrest in our country of TDA members, just TDA. Everyone in this room agrees they are one of the most violent criminal organizations in the world. And the Biden administration let them walk into our country for the last 4 years. 2,711 of them today have been arrested in our country. That is the priority of Donald Trump. That is the priority of this country, of Homeland Security, of all of our lawyers, of FBI. That's the priority. That will be discussed in October when the Supreme Court hopefully rules in our favor, and we're very confident of that. But you should all feel safer now that President Trump can deport all of these gangs, and not one district court judge can think they're an emperor over this administration and his executive powers and why the people of the United States elected him.
I just might add one thing. And, you know, they used birthright citizenship, some of the worst people, some of the cartels, to get people into our country, just so you know. And again, I say, if you look at the end of the Civil War, the 1800s, it was a very turbulent time. If you take the end day, was it 1869 or whatever? But you take that exact day, that's when the case was filed. And the case ended shortly thereafter. This had to do with the babies of slaves, very, very obviously. And I think we're going to win. People didn't, I don't think they went about discussing it right. I came along and we looked and we said, wait a minute, this is wrong. We've been looking at birthright citizenship wrong for years, but they've used it. The cartels have used birthright citizenship to get very bad people in. And what Pam's doing and what Todd and everybody else, what they're doing at DOJ and all over, FBI, ICE, Border Patrol, these are incredible people. They're trying to keep our country safe, and they don't want to have people come in. This is just another way that they get illegal immigrants into our country, and in some cases, very, very bad ones. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your tax bill, if I could for a moment, senators are racing to rewrite parts of it right now after the Senate parliamentarian ruled that sections of it were outside of the process that they're using to get this through. Do you think that senators should respect the decisions of the parliamentarian? And what have you personally done in the last 48 hours to try and get Republican senators who are against the bill to a yes?
Well, look, it's a great bill. It's a massive tax cut. If it's not approved, your taxes will go up by 68%. Think of that, 68, a record, the highest in the history. The Democrats won't approve it only because politically it's so good for the Republicans. The Democrats aren't approving it. But think of what they're not approving. They're not approving border security. We've done a great job at the border, but we have to add some wall. We have to do, various things. We have no money for that. We have no money for the border. We have no money for so many things. But if the Democrats, it'd be interesting to see if we get any Democrat votes. We should. If I were a Democrat, I would absolutely, maybe Fetterman, because he seems to be the most sensible one lately. If I were a Democrat, I would vote for this bill all day long because it's tax cuts and so many other things that are common sense. They're basic things. I think they're doing fine. The parliamentarian's been a little difficult. And I would say that I disagree with the parliamentarian on some things, and on other ways he's been fine. But we'll have to see. It's a big issue. I will tell you this: if that bill doesn't pass, the country will get a 68% tax increase. So think of this: you're a Democrat and you vote against it. That means you're voting in favor, because essentially you're voting in favor of the largest tax hike in the history of our country. And you can't do that. In addition, we're cutting costs by $1.7 trillion, and it won't affect anybody. It's just fraud, waste, and abuse.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message?
DC, you quiet? You sleep? You took a nap?
No, I had to I have to make a run, man. So I'm just listening to the news conference, man. So
Okay. I thought something would have hit.
Nah, I mean it was pretty much the same thing that you've been saying. I mean, like I get the overall point. I just see it from a different point of view. That's it. That's all. I mean, I don't, like I said, to use the African American citizenship law, as far as like when he said slave babies being born and that was the path to citizenship. That's the reason why it was written into law. Is a push for me, because there's been so many statutes basically passed since then to amend that. So that's the reason why I don't look at it the same way as being something that to argue against. I understand the original meaning of the law, though, for sure.
This lady right here, boy, we got to do a whole. I don't know if you're able to see it on your phone. We got to do a whole thing on her, boy. Susie Wild, that I call her Trump's brain, but she just sits in the cut, pulling the strings. But I found that video I want you to hear too.
Okay.
I found that, John.
June twice, it seems. All right. Hey,
should I just get to the part that just blew my mind? Do you want to get a little taste of it?
How long is it?
Oh, it's too long. I'm not. It's 49 minutes.
Oh no. Go ahead.
They talking right away about what they're talking about. Maybe let them just have a little bit of few minutes talking, and then I get to the part I'm talking about. I'm just curious your initial reaction to
everyone,
it.
Thank you for joining the Left Hook. I'm here with Professor Eddie Glaude. We're both allegedly on vacation, but no, we're not, because life, to quote Robert Frost, it must go on, and there's so much breaking news, and I appreciate Eddie taking time out as he's with his family to join me. I look like this, for those who don't know, because I'm with my in-laws in Florida, surrounded by 800 kids, so I apologize, but bear with me. There's so much news. We saw Zoran Mamdani win yesterday, defeat a sexual predator, son of Muslim African immigrants, named Zoran, was able to overcome the entire, if you will, arsenal of the establishment to defeat Andrew Cuomo, a sexual predator. But even in the face of obscene racism and Islamophobia, and we're going to talk about how it's going to get worse, we see Mahmoud Khalil, who finally was able to be reunite with his child after spending 104 days in detention for the crime of being Palestinian. We're seeing this war on Iran, the strikes done by Donald Trump, completely illegal, and the drumbeat to war, and all the neocon hawks with their, pardon my language, war boners. And we're seeing ICE and the military literally terrorize Americans and brown people instead of, the threats. And I believe that there's a common theme here. I believe there's a common thread, something that I've been talking about for a long time, something that Professor Eddie Glaude has been talking about for a long time, is America's imperialism and its establishment needs racism and Islamophobia in order to function. And Professor Eddie Glaude is the editor and founder of the fantastic Substack you all have to subscribe to, The Native Son, professor at Princeton, and also the author of several books. And I've invited him because you all won't listen to me. Maybe you'll listen to Professor Eddie Glaude. And I've been following his tweets. And we have a lot to talk about. So I've given you a lot, Professor. We could spin the wheel. Zoran, ICE, the war in Iran, Mahmoud Khalil. Where do you want to begin?
So first of all, I want to begin by thanking you for doing all the things that you do, for continuing to tell the truth in ways that simply don't map on to the electorate anymore. So particularly within the Democratic Party. And I want to say this, because before I get to what's to me,
take your time.
What's so insidious about this election is that since World War II, since the advent of Hitler, since the Cold War, the Democratic Party has found itself trying to do two things at once: hold off fascism and hold off communism, or its left wing, right? Yep. And so there's this ongoing battle. How do we fight Hitler and how do we fight Stalin? And what that has translated into, how that's translated over the years, is how do we hold off Republicans and how do we hold off the quote unquote left wing of the Democratic Party? Yep. And when we think about Bernie Sanders and we think these folk, they
DC. So is he calling the left? Well, I think he's calling the left. Because you get mad when I say it.
They describe themselves as democratic socialists in ways, but they're closer to Mondale than they are to some communist, party member. And
hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining
in the Soviet Union, of the old Soviet Union. But here we are still fighting this battle and still witnessing the Democratic Party holding the view that it has to, in some ways, contain its left wing, kind of suppress it, right? To demonize it. Because in so many ways, a lot of folk, even within the party, Democratic Party itself, they're more comfortable with racist fascists than they are with, right, leftists who want to, in some ways, have an economy that doesn't rely on the on the disposability of people. Now, you combine that with, Brother Wajah, you combine that with the insidious nature of racism that drove so much of this election. DC,
you still there?
Yep, I'm still here. I'm just listening.
So which one are you? Are you a centrist Democrat still, or are you on the left, far left? Which one? Which one are you taking?
I mean,
based off of Eddie's explanation.
Based off Eddie's explanation.
Yeah, based off his definition, basically he's saying the Democrats support the fascist right and the racism, and the far left, I guess, doesn't. But because a lot of black people and a lot of people online, they want to say, well, I'm not on the far left, I'm in the center. Well, he just gave you a definition of what that means.
Nah, I don't know.
How y'all. None of y'all are central. Y'all are left. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
Again, that's his definition.
Yeah, I don't know how you can split it up, but
this is what they're talking about, right? These are your people.
I understand. It's an opinion.
He did that James Clyburn could come and endorse Cuomo, right? And we know who Cuomo is. I mean, you don't have to go through the Me Too movement. We know who this guy is. And they would rather settle, right, for a sexual predator
crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. It is hard to listen to male Democrats. Just so you know, because them talking points be crazy. I said, how the fuck do y'all? No, bro. I don't know how y'all. I wouldn't even. If I was y'all, I wouldn't even vote. I would just be out. I'm out. Until there's a new party that pop up, I'm just out. Because the shit that he just said as a grown ass man to me at his age is wild to me, bro.
Oh man.
Is he a sexual predator? Cuomo, I don't remember him being that, but
I don't either, but
I tell you, the left is killing him on that shit. They are on his ass on that shit.
Yeah.
But let me get to the part. I know you probably gotta go. Let me get to the part. I just want to kind of get it going. I couldn't stop watching this, by the way. I had to suck all this up. This was good.
Go ahead.
You know, when Eddie started talking, privilege, rich, prestige, degrees, the big beautiful white, quote unquote white college, and all this that's all fantasy shit, right? That shit is weird, bro. I don't care what you say. It's weird to me, man. I would never understand that shit. I just can't understand it. I just don't understand it. Don't you gotta find it though?
Really, he said that, folks. Haven't gone around to it. Don't have the time.
One can only infer from that a certain set of commitments. And that's what we have to do. What are those commitments? Introduce language into the political discourse.
War with Iran, 85% said no. 85%. Yesterday, CB came after them at the end of the day. Because fascists come after everyone. Sorry for my rant, Eddie.
No Republican light anymore. Latest shorthand will be, it means that we need to articulate a set of values that affirm the dignity and standing of every human being, no matter their zip code, their color, their gender, right?
Yeah, right.
Whatever, right? Their ability and the like. We need to assert that every.
Be bold and imagine. It's okay to imagine a better future and to fight for it. And I think that's why, in part, Mamdani won. He imagined something else. He imagined something better. Why
hasn't won
can't
yet.
tenants have more rights? Why can't the rich pay their taxes? Why can't immigrants be free in this country? Why can't Palestinians be free? Why can't the grassroots come together and take on the corporate establishment? And what do they say is beautiful or great for the rest of us, right? They want restoration, and what we want is reformation. I'm not crazy or alone. MSNBC still has him on, which I'm so happy. Also, his Substack, which is Native Son. What did I miss, Eddie? Please shamelessly promote yourself.
No.
How can people support you? How can people in favor of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Louisiana Detention Center? You could hear.
No, not at all.
I've been trying my best, folks.
Those are just the facts. People simply to hold off MAGA Republicans, right? That's the argument. If you don't elect us, look at the alternative. Go away, and then expect you to turn out and vote every single election cycle for them. It makes no sense politically. The only thing you can do is to say, we're going to take our base for granted while we go, as we've been doing since 1980, about the rest of you, your place. And
he talking like they found that they saw poverty in parts of America that they can point to and say, look, we saw poverty there and we solved it there. And what the hell is he talking about, bro?
It's true. Of course, that your life isn't as a moment where we cannot bullshit.
This has been helpful to people because what Eddie said, folks, and I'm bringing it back to the war on terror. I'm bringing it back to Palestine because you think it's not connected, but it's all connected. When it came to the 2024 election, this is what the Democratic Party said. Shut up and get in line. Shut up and get in line because it's either us or Trump. And you're not gonna vote for Trump, the racist. So I know you're talking about Palestine. I know you were talking about the 1%. I know you want to talk about taxing the rich, but you shut your mouth.
Trading options can be a great way to generate income, but most traders out there are relying.
You shut your mouth, and we're going to have moderated steps. Moderated steps, Ellie Act, with the Democratic support in the Senate and the House. Can't say Palestine. So we're not even going to have a Palestine. Shut your mouth. F you. Well, and then you see the war with Iran, right? The war with where's Schumer? Where's Hakeem Jeffries? Where's the leadership? You have an open lane, Eddie,
DC.
Yep.
You sit there.
I'm here. Can
Now
you hear
look
me?
at now. If they weren't Democrats or progressives or whatever, if they were just people just talking about the system, right?
Mhm.
That for me would be much less confusing, right? But they voted for Kamala and Joe Biden. So, and I get that they're expressing their I get they're expressing themselves, right? But it always does sound odd sometimes as these two being talking heads, that it's unusual, you know. It's like you're saying all these pretty things and you want to support whatever you want to support, but at the end of the day, though, if you really truly believe in what you believe in, you wouldn't vote for a Democrat, right? Because you're against imperialism, you're against invading, you're against bombing, and on and on and on, right? You are against so many things that the Democratic Party stands for, but you try to they're running cover for the Democrats. That's why I always say it's disgusting, because take a real position, but you can't, because you understand what you're in, but you're talking as, man.
You have an open. 85% of people voted. Trump strikes on at the clip.
I have to find it, man.
That's by talking about how Hakeem, we try to make imagination, as it were, and then you have this, and you kind of go, "What is going on?" There are moments when one's values are in. They understand. We can call. I like to describe them in moments when I'm concede to the world as it is, right? When in fact the South is falling apart and people are running, we do. Now we're part of all to clutch their freaking pearls because they can't be themselves in front of us anymore. And then you say, well, and when I ask the question, what pray tell can't you say?
I just want to know this, DC. What regular American, regardless of race, but what average American relates to these two people? I'm just like, what? I keep trying to figure that part out. The everyday American, not the people who are in the mix, but just the everyday person, bro. I always wonder, like, and that goes for both sides. I'm just saying, it's always funny to me that this side just seems like they expect everyone should just get it with them. It's just kind of it's a big miss on America, and then they will indict everybody who don't connect, right? So it's very Trump Trump gives the blueprint, and it is still strange that people like these two still kind of talk in a way that if you don't get it, then like they're gonna box you, and they're gonna put you into a category and box you. Box to a category. They really won't, like, they'll do this with each other. They really won't deal with you, though. Like if me and you ran into them and talked, you see what I'm saying? And we really just had your own. If you had your own thoughts and your own, they would really hammer you. And don't get it twisted. The right would do the same thing. But I feel like when I listen to the right talk, the expectations aren't the same. If that makes any sense. The demand isn't the same, in my opinion, to be honest with you. But on these kind of people here, man, it's like you got to get with it. Like it's very, very interesting to me.
Especially on Twitter. And Cheryl and I think retweeted someone. I don't know who said this, but it was such a good point. And she says, I think it was and she is usually very diplomatic but blunt, but even she came out with the boo-hoo-hoo essentially. And I think it was a Black individual who said, "Oh, really? Do you know what Black people have to do? We can't say anything. We have to perform 24/7 at work." Speaking about policing ourselves, welcome to our life. Can you talk to us about that? How people of color in America have to consistently police themselves, not to be too angry. Folks, it goes back full circle. Look at Zoran Mamdani. Has to smile. He's being asked the most humiliating questions. Can't be upset. Barack Obama could never lose his temper, right? But Donald Trump, if he loses his temper, he said the F word like he did yesterday because he's spiraling out of control and can't control the ceasefire because he's an idiot, then his base goes keeping it real, shooting from the hip. Can you imagine if Obama did that? Could you imagine if Obama just kept it real? That famous Chappelle skit, keeping it real, when keeping it real goes back full circle.
Absolutely. I mean, Paul Laurence Dunbar about the mask, right? I mean, Langston Hughes, we are always finding ourselves over and over again, right? Having to mute ourselves, right? As a condition for entree, right? You have to quiet yourself in so many ways, because if we're too loud in the way we inhabit space, right, we make people uncomfortable. Right? Our rage, our anger can't be expressed in a certain sort of way. Our joys can't even be expressed in a certain way. Ralph Ellison wrote a wonderful essay about laughing barrels in the South, where Black folk couldn't laugh out loud; they had to stick their head in barrels. Right? So there's and again, you can trace that particular that impulse to the critique of Kamala Harris's her laughter. In some ways, it was too outward expressive. It was too expressive in some ways. Right? Think about you speaking in your own language. What happens if you pray?
DC, I had a question. He's about to say the joke I'm talking about, by the way. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
They're framing this. They're framing this. What they're talking about is exactly my issue with race. They're framing this as if they're talking about white people on the right, or do you think they're talking about everybody in America?
No, they're definitely trying to make it seem like it's just white people on the right. Yeah.
Why would they focus not on the right but focus on the left? And when you're on the left in those universities, that you can't express yourself. On the left, those more left-leaning corporations, businesses, when you're in political spaces, I always want to know that part, right? Because I get the politics of what they're doing, but I'm just saying, like, so just so I'm clear, as long as I'm a Democrat and the white person knows I'm a Democrat and that they're Democrats, regardless of economics, titles, positions, business, government, or whatever, I can be myself, whatever that in itself is bullshit. Everybody has a smile, but I don't even want to get on that right now. But when I'm on the left side, I can be myself. That's your argument, right? They give you space. I mean, it's bullshit in my opinion, but that is your argument, right? They give you, based on the way he's trying to make it seem like all the white people, the half or 40% of the white people in America, as long as you're a Democrat and you're Black, you can be yourself and do what you want to do, and you're safe and you're protected and you're comfortable no matter where you go, as long as you're in blue spaces and blue places, right? And you agree with that, correct? That is your position as well.
No, it's not. That is not what I said. But go ahead and you can go ahead and use it. It's similar. It's similar to that, but it's not. That's not the full context of what I said. No.
Oh, I thought you said that the left makes space for Black people. You didn't say that?
No, I said that you can actually no, because there's always a tight contingent of know your place, even on the left. Also,
I wonder would he ever say that?
Right, these images of folk trying to pray in Times Square, folk wanting to walk over the prayer rugs, right? I mean, so all of this stuff. What does it mean to signal your difference in public spaces, and how does that have to be policed? Right, so we wear the mask, and that mask not only impacts how we live, the stress that comes with it, right? It also, right, centers a kind of dishonesty in our public life because we're not dealing.
I won't lie. I really do wish I knew what he was talking. Are you uncomfortable, DC? You're stressed out?
Stressed out.
You might agree with that. He talking about we're stressed.
Oh, I think people that are like
this might as well be Dr. Umar talking. At this point, shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, we stressed out. We wearing a mask. What the hell is he talking about, bro?
That's an intellectual
I know
purview of Blackness, man. Yeah,
I know. He's going philosophical. I know.
With each other, right, in a direct way, because we're not being honest about who we are when we engage each other in the public space. So there's always the simmering ugly.
You know what though? I wish he would try to tie into America as a multinational, multicultural space, right? It's not what do they call it? Homogenized? What is it? Whatever it's called, right?
Yeah.
And everybody in this country are the most comfortable around their cultures, whatever that might be, right? You're the most comfortable. And then once you move out of that space, everybody adjusts because you have to relate and organize under one, for the most part, under one thought process, or you can't communicate. I wonder how much of that has an effect, because if I'm from Afghanistan, right? I came over here as a refugee with a bunch of other Afghanis, right? We've been here for say a generation or two, and we still brought our culture here, and we can do certain things, and we're comfortable. You know, we have certain little idiosyncrasies and things that we connect on, which is one thing. But then when I leave out the house, like everybody does, no matter what house it is, you adjust to the public environment, be it whatever it might be. And so and then whatever the dominant force is in those spaces, you tend to bend to those forces. I don't know. Do you think it's kind of oversold? I don't know what that really means, because you have to do that on some level, right? So you got to find some common threads there to connect and speak when everything isn't identical in every single environment, right? Am I wrong about that? And I wonder how much that gets overplayed a little bit.
Is underneath our politics.
And you know, folks, if you think we're just making this up, I want you to take you to the brosphere and the manosphere and YouTube. Many of these comedians who openly said, we could finally say the R word now. We could finally say retard, and we could finally say gay. We brought it back. You think I'm...
So, you ready, DC?
Yeah, go ahead.
So now Eddie has made this non-black person, might as well be a white man to me, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But he made this person very comfortable. I want you to watch what he's about to say, and I want your reaction.
Joking, I'm not. That's their win, that we can finally say retard and gay again, right? People like Andrew Schultz and others. So they're willing to trade their democracy, their freedoms, their rights, for the ability to say the things that they could no longer say in public, which was, no, not speaking about the 1%, not speaking about greed, not speaking about tyranny. No, no, no. What they really wanted to say was retard and gay. And what they really want to say, Professor Cloud, you know, and I know this is going to be some dark humor, some very dark humor. But I've said, okay, if we could let white people say the N-word publicly again, would they give us free healthcare? Would they give us Medicare for all? I know it's terrible. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. But I always, you know what? I know America, folks. Think about it. If you say, all right, white folks, if we give you the N-word and you could say it in hip-hop songs, only in hip-hop, when you're reciting lyrics of hip-hop songs only, you could say the N-word out loud. What will you give us? What do you think they'd give us, Eddie? I think they'd give us Medicare for all.
I don't think they would give us anything. You know what they...
What do you think about that? It doesn't bother you at all? Just a flippant comment?
About
his setup, everything he just did right now. not really what he's really talking about, but what is that? What makes him think he can even set that up like that? I'm talking about that part. Fuck what the actual words he's using with the whole whatever.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about, by the way. Just so you know, that's what I mean. I don't know if that illustrates what I'm trying to explain to you from your perspective.
Yeah, I get you.
Do you see what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah, I understand.
Now Eddie, who just got to talking about putting on faces and all this other jibber jabber bullshit, psychobabble nonsense he's talking, right? You're not talking to yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're not talking to a black person, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you're not talking to a black person.
You understand? Yeah, that's crazy.
I would argue that you talk to your fucking enemy, to be honest with you. Really, to me. Because trust and believe me, when that motherfucker, when that dude right there going in his spaces, but DC, come on, man. You gotta give me this, right? I mean, can you give me this at least with the big tent shit with the left?
Okay. Yeah, I listen. It's problematic,
bro.
It's problematic, man.
Now Eddie, to me, put on a great face. But I would have told him now tell me, DC, now I would have said it's inappropriate. It's not funny, it's not a joke. Think about what he just said, man. It doesn't bother you because you're on the left. See, that's what I'm saying. It pisses me. I'm blown by that shit, bro.
No,
I am blown by it, bro. It's so much in what he just said that it's so much more.
I wonder why he's so comfortable that he can say something like that. I am kind of confused by that. Yeah.
I'm not even going to rant. And since you seem to be all right, I'm not going to rant on it. I thought that would hit you.
I'm not all right with it. I'm just listening to it. I think I heard.
He might as well be Charlie Kirk talking.
I seen this video, but I seen it in a shorter kind of.
Yeah, they got it clipped up. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I just think to myself, if that was Charlie Kirk talking, right, to a black Republican, think about how you would respond then, or the left or blacks in general, right? They would, because the left would have just took that and just ran with it, of course, right? But this won't go nowhere. This won't do nothing. This won't be nothing. It's just a conversation. But he might as well be Charlie Kirk to me, or Steve Bannon, or whoever you want to pick a person. Kelly, whatever her name, Megyn Kelly. I mean, pick anybody. Who? Why would you be talking to a black person about that? Using it as a joke, funny, putting it.
right.
But okay, well, I guess you're not. Okay, cool. Well, whatever.
No,
I
I
get off of
think
it
that
then.
no, I think that from your point, I think that I don't know if the only reason why I wouldn't put him
They
on
think these people like him. It's a lot of them, bro. And white people on the left do this. They. What? I'm gonna leave it. I'm done. I can't do it. I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do. I'm gonna get off. I'm done. I'm done with it. All right, we good. Okay, fellas. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's all I got, man.
You don't got nothing else, man? You good with it?
I mean, what am I gonna say? I mean, these people are doing these
I'm a little
things.
bit. I'm a little bit under. I'm kind of tired right now, so I ain't gonna even hold you with that. I'm a little tired, but I do got to run too.
I was just saying that it is a little. I would just say it's funny because there is so much with that, and it ties to so many other things. Just unfortunate. But like you said, since they give y'all space,
Yeah, I think
there you go, right?
I think there's a different conversation that's going on between them two. More so of a colleague than anything else. Charlie Kirk is white. That's the only caveat I would have for that. If it was like what's his name? What's the guy? Vivek talking to what's another one that's over there with them? Vivek and
going down in Florida.
Barry Douglas or Donald? Byron Donald.
Byron Donald.
Yeah, Byron Donald. And they had that same conversation. I think I will have the same reaction.
I would not you. Not you. I'm not talking about you. Remember,
I got you. You're talking about the general. You're talking about the general consensus.
Exactly. Is that they can play with our race, and it's just interesting. While they're calling other people certain things, I'm thinking to myself, you do know that this man that you're talking to don't like black people. His culture hates black. It's just I'm done.
His culture may hate, his culture may hate black people, but doesn't mean that he actually feels the same way. Doesn't mean he feels the same way, Paradox.
Come on, bro.
You think he feels the same way about that? I don't know about that, bro. Most of his content is dealing with racism and what he view racism to be and how it's connected to white imperialism across the world. That's his content.
I know his content very well.
Specifically,
for many years.
That's what I'm saying.
I know him very well.
So specifically, he's been consistent with that. So it's a different thing. Now I would have checked him on that. I'm like, nah, that's not the same thing. We don't have that same kind of it's just not something to correlate to what
if I played a white woman that said something similar to a black person, and that they've been talking about racism, white supremacy, and globalization and global imperialism, you're okay with that too, then, right? Because that person also gets a pass. Just so I'm clear, so we're consistent here.
No, because that's a white person. That's what I said, though. I just said that. The caveat is if the person is a non-white person.
So Arabs enslaving blacks, Arabs being conquerors, imperialists, mass murders. That means that don't exist, right?
Not in the American context as much, no. Because then we can go
we could play with that because, like I said, that's the era slave trade was.
It hasn't stopped.
It was that's what I'm saying. That particular slave slave trade
they're still to this day exploiting Africans, bro.
People
Arabs are
of
monsters,
African
bro.
ancestry.
They're monsters.
So
Should not be talking to them. I mean, I'm confused still, but I got you, I guess.
No, it's a discussion for sure, man.
Not really. That's black and white to me.
It's a discussion for
Arabs,
sure.
There's no such thing as Arabs and blacks. I mean, that's fucking insane.
No.
Good luck with that shit.
No, I wouldn't go that far. No, I wouldn't say that. I would not say that there's a such thing as Arab and blacks. No, not at all.
And their philosophies in Islam and anyway, that's just, man. The shit these people be talking about when it comes to us, man. Anyway. That's
but you don't think that there's anything. That's why I was saying that it's the same thing with the coalition building. That
I don't care if people mask themselves in politics, but that doesn't mean anything. You can mask.
I'm not talking about the politics per se. I'm talking about how they align.
You see how fast the Jews snapped up.
You know.
You see how they switched up, right? Because culture's going to override this shit. So you see how they switched up, right?
Yeah.
So you thinking people are your friends, they're not you. You're not those people. But it's all good in politics. But then when something happens to them, watch what happens. Just play it out at that point. And the Jews is probably one of the recent examples of what I'm talking about, by the way. They can talk all the talk they want to, but when things are starting to happen and it is a part of their shit, watch how we get treated when that moment takes place. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay. I got you.
But yeah, that's all I got. If you want to summarize anything else you want to prep for?
No, man. You know, like I said,
you gotta go.
My energy has been like kind of low today because I was just really, really tired. So, but no, we'll get back into it. The next, I'll do better on the next program. I ain't gonna hold you. I was a little tired today.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm gonna try to go live this week as news unfolds with whatever goes off this week. It's gonna be something, right? Just don't know what.
Oh yeah.
But I'd be surprised if it's a quiet week, you know. So it should be something exciting going on. Let me find me an outro song. I started doing what's my boy name? Top 5 Do or Die. What's my boy name? They still be hitting the chunk without lyrics. We can't even do lyrics no more, it seems like. They got on that.
Yeah.
You know, was getting away with it for a while with them, just the lyrics.
That's crazy.
They all that too. Let me put this on before we finish out. I'm gonna close it out on this, but anyway. Well, this is the Code Breakers. This is Paradox.
And this is D. Until next time. Peace.